And welcome everybody to day 4 of ProBots 2024, season 3. Here we are, back into the winners bracket because some of these bots made it all the way through and some of them went to the scrap pile. If you were watching last week, we saw the devastation of the losers or lower brackets, depending on what side you want to be on. And we're back on up to the top half of the brackets where we get to see a swath of 8 bots decide which ones will go into the next round and which ones will go and join the losers. But to welcome us all in, let's bring us the casters. Casters. We got Endersword and BY on the desk with me here. Boys, you ready for some ProBots?
I'm so ready.
I think my greatest dream. Oh, I think Endersword got cut off. I think he's.
I think you're maybe muted because I felt like I was waiting and then.
I think he was like he was there and from the moment up until the point that we started the show. And
he's probably peaking his mic because he's so excited. He's just at such a loud level that his mic.
He's gonna have to maybe he'll have to jump in and jump out of the call. And so while he does that, or maybe. That's so weird. We're so fine up until this moment. But,
we're just talking about the most useless.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, he's back.
I think literally when I grab my mic, there's like this thing of lights, and I must have hit one and literally muted myself or turned it down.
Oh, okay. One of my greatest plans and hopes one day for ProBots is I just want to get like a live band, like a rock band, and they just be like the ProBots. And like, you know, if you've ever watched the Transformers movie, BY, you're too young for this, but if you've ever watched the Generation 1 Transformers movie. I have better
taste than you
guys. Okay.
See the same stuff.
And so you know, you're a man of culture.
We're talking about like Megan Fox.
The Megan Fox. Oh my God.
Okay. Before that.
All right. Before I have a hernia.
Yeah, just as a hint, Draken is never talking about Megan Fox. It's never come up.
I pegged him.
Never.
He doesn't like that scene.
Never gonna be Megan Fox.
No
Anyways,
appreciation.
let's see some rectangles, please.
Oh, yes, rectangles.
So here we have 2 rectangles that are lined up in a horizontal way. The left side of the rectangle is the rectangle that we are still in, but we're in the winner's part of that rectangle. So the winner of tonight's match is about to escape the left rectangle and move to the right rectangle. We started with a 4-person group, a 4-bot group, I suppose, 4 of those. And the winners, the ones that make it straight through, go to the single elimination playoff. And then the loser of tonight's match will go to a consolation. The winner of that one will also advance to the single elimination playoff, where we have a quarterfinal best of 3, semifinal best of 5, and grand finals best of 7.
I mean, how far off do you think we are when we have to start acknowledging these bots' personhood? I feel
chat. I think Sharkbot's getting close. I think once they have like a personality where they're talking and they kind of have like their own thing.
I watched that. I guess what is it? The Tesla Optimus, those robots, and I thought to myself, we're almost there. We're almost there. Finally.
We also just as people have a really good or potentially bad habit of simply personifying things.
Oh my God!
Absolutely. I feel like I see that. And I don't think we're there, but also, yeah, you see a cloud and you're like, that looks just like my uncle. Who?
But even think about it. Like Endersword last week talked about how he talks to ChatGPT and still gives it like niceties that you wouldn't have to give like an actual person. Oh, you're muted. You muted himself again.
What do I do with my hands?
Maybe something of magic, but. Yeah,
they're back.
Yeah, like Endersword said he started giving niceties to ChatGPT. Yeah. And I do it too, where I'll like, can you please? Yeah. I'm like, I don't say please to you, Mom. Go get me my data.
I feel like that's just keeping to your own kindness, because you can't get too comfortable being you don't want to be like too chill being like.
I mean, realistically, you just tell it to do what you want it to do. Don't mince words. Don't add the fluff, and just say, hey. Do this thing.
You could add the phrase, would you kindly? Which would kind of cut both ways of like, this sounds polite, but it is a command, slave.
That's too much.
Like that sort of thing.
That's too much to type, though. I don't know. I like to
at my earliest convenience.
At my earliest convenience. That one I like. I like that one, BY. You're good. Okay, so that's where we are with these. But why don't we take a look at the brackets and see how we got here? Oh, my screen is so small. But I'm gonna.
I can read them if you want. Mine aren't too bad.
Okay.
We got.
I have a small preview window on mine, so you help us, BY.
All right, so first match we got is Arty versus Sharkbot. Arty taking out Deimos 2-1. Sharkbot taking out Sharpen. I'm not going to remember the whole name.
Sharpened Edge.
Sharpened Edge. That's what it is.
One day we'll have the full name.
Sharkbot 2-0 Sharpened Edge. So
we've got a lot of room in the left and right to extend these.
Yeah, these rectangles could be even longer.
We don't have the technology.
And then other side, just clear 2-0s. So Xena versus MicroMachine, but MicroMachine 2-0ing 12 pool bot and Xena 2-0ing Terrain. So yeah, I mean Arty the only one in this winner's side that actually did not 2-0 their first round opponent, which might be a little bit scary. But other than that, there's just 2-0s everywhere. Even in the bottom side, Deimos and 12 pool bot both getting into that kind of consolation round, as Endersword said, with their own 2-0s.
I mean, out of the new bots, and I say bots that show up this season, who has the best name? I know it's the hardest. These are like the hard-hitting questions, but like
best name, probably Terrain, because it means three things, man.
Right? I was thinking the same thing.
AI and rain.
Right.
Well, and I even almost saw like Terran in the rain, like a weird. If you color them certain ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terrain's pretty crazy. Arty, I just like because it's like just like a name.
Yeah.
It's like having a dog named Steve or like.
Is it named after?
It's just like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean Artos is good shout out. Regardless, but I just like normal name sounding bots. I think that's cute in its own way until it becomes overdone.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm also a big fan of Terrain, but I like T-Bone. I think T-Bone plays off of It
feels
Dominion
like
dog.
It should be playing Madden though.
I what?
It's just T-Bone's a very like football name.
Yeah. And like you T-Bone someone if you
I
can kind of see it.
We're about to get a peek into BY's after curricular activities.
No. That I don't know too much. I know that they tackle each other. All right, that's about my football knowledge. All right, I'm trying to think of any other cool names. Tartarus is a pretty cool name too because I just
Tartarus.
I like mythology type stuff, and that's a kind of cool Pandora's box almost type, or like there's hell to pay. I don't know. Tartarus seems cool.
Yeah.
I like their cat.
Deimos too, because it still follows this planetary body sort of theme, but we've already had Phobos and Eris, and it's Deimos is, I don't know. The other two are cooler.
And I like to check in with everybody here and find out like what has been the most I want to say unusual thing we've seen from these bots. Like I'm not going to say unusual, leaning towards I'm going to say leaning towards human-like. Who sort of has like the most human-like approach?
That's a good question because I almost feel we went through a phase in this whole thing where they became more human-like, and I think we moved away from it.
Yes, we have.
Because I don't know that human-like is good.
Sought after.
Yeah. So most human-like, I'm not sure. I mean, it might be something like Sharkbot where it's kind of doing cheeses that are a little more it's doing a lot of things that you would see in real games. The cheeses that you'd pick up from that, then it also talks and whatever, but I feel that we've gotten away from, there were a few things like GensiBot and stuff at the time that started to behave and look human in how it was moving troops and stuff. I don't really feel that there is such a thing now. If anything, you've gotten to the point that you've got like these Zerg swarms where each one is moving individually and it's completely inhuman.
Now, was it Tartarus who said that he was going to be using more human-like builds? He wasn't using speed mining?
Yeah. I think he was putting human limitations at least on it.
Yeah.
I think there's also, I forget which Protoss it was. It may not have been Sharpened Edge, but for some reason I'm thinking it maybe was. But the one Protoss that had the Oracle play, where the Oracle actually went to the mineral line and attacked
I believe that's
probes.
Sharkbot.
Yeah.
That was Sharkbot. Okay.
That's Sharkbot.
I think that like it is just that was like the least robotic kind of play, where like a lot of the times they are A moving or like I don't know, they're not doing like that kind of pro target micro. And so that to me was like one very small instance that looked very human-y or like less AI, but yeah, I feel like overall the bots are not looking very
I would like to,
you know.
I would like to at the end of the year, and maybe we'll not this year because it's so soon, but like start giving awards for the entire year's ProBots and be like, most human like and
Best
most
play,
impressive, best
or like,
play,
like individual like micro,
the highest amount of Oracle kills, stuff like just things that are just super impossible for bots to do.
Yeah.
But someone Dyson Returns says that that Sharkbot moves the camera. So
yeah, true. That's another good one.
Yeah,
I think it's Sharkbot.
I also lean towards Sharkbot is pretty human-like. Then I would maybe
all of our examples were different examples, and Sharkbot was doing all of that. It was like
they
talk more, they like move the camera, they have like limitations. Yeah,
I would then maybe say Tartarus. Then I'd put it into the next. I would say that, but I don't know if that's the case. And then so before I let everyone get us started, just making sure the production is doing all well back behind us. But if you haven't done it yet, you know what you need to do is hit that subscribe button, because there's more ProBots action here. Of course, there is bits of code that I run as well. And then we have our Monday nights assembly, where we've been coding a bot. And man, we have gotten really far. I'm actually really proud of that. Our mob programming of a bot. I didn't think that we would get that. I don't want to play it down or anything, but Mind Me and Dog Tato together, we've been coding this bot, and we just solved how to keep our bot from kiting up a ramp. And it seems so minute.
Like
it seems so minute, but it was such. I don't know. I'm super stoked about it because we came up with such a cool solution where we took the coordinates of the ramp and took a division of it and checked if we were close to it, and then we like ran away from it so we pull the enemy down, and it worked like a charm. So we do a lot of cool problem solving on our Monday nights at 5:30 mob programming, and it actually was really cool. I was really proud of it. It was it's a really good feeling when you have one of those kind of weird problems and then everyone works together to come up with a solution. So it was really fun.
It seems like such a specific problem, but also we saw last week in the TVT where the Marines ran up the ramp into like 3 tanks, and it's like
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's so easy to see. Like, yeah, it matters a lot to have
it matters a lot.
One random thing that's gonna.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It matters a lot to go up a ramp and to take a losing fight up a ramp. It actually matters a lot. So stuff like that. Join us on Mondays for there. And the best way to find that out is to subscribe. And then you can also, if you want to partake in it, ! Join somebody in the chat. You guys are really awesome. Hit that for me. And then you can find out how to become a member. Cool. Oh, and I think Enderstarter was deleted from the continuum. So, I was just about to kick it off. So we'll give it a few seconds. And then when he returns, we'll
I mean, do you want to start talking about? We don't have to look at their stats or anything, but do you want to start talking about Arty Sharkbot?
Indesert just returned, so then as soon as the cameras put him back up for the rest of everyone to see, we will allow you guys to do it. Production, give us back Ender Sword.
I'm evasive.
There he is. All right, cool.
Beautiful.
All right, boys, I'm gonna let you guys go. Take us to our games, please. Or talk about our games.
Indeed we shall. So we are first up with Arty versus Sharkbot. Definitely expecting a good one here. We will see potentially what that human-like behavior ends up looking like. We've got Arty, designed by a white puma here. Strategy in non-TVZ, which is going to be the case. A simple 2 racks Marine SCV all in with anti-counter all in included. So probably a good thing. A Sharkbot will often do like a...
Oh, you may have muted again. I think I just lost your audio. Sharkbot is usually going to be pretty aggressive early on, I think is what Endertor was going to say. And so we'll see if they both kind of clash early on. or if they don't finish early on, Arty will eventually end it in just a all in. I think Arty is a big fan of pulling the boys. Special non-TVZ. To deal with early all-in rushes from another bot, my bot will lift the main command center and fly it to the opponent's main, which should be destroyed around the time it gets there to restart the economy. We'll see if that works. So this is kind of like in a base trade scenario, I guess. Arty is hoping to just reclaim the other side of the map, which if Sharkbot does do a kind of early cheese, it could become a base trade scenario. Additional, the main purpose of this bot was to showcase the potential of Terran's ability to play reactively in the same way as Zerg could. A style I've never seen from any players, but it's easier to do than meta. This also means that I've intentionally stayed away from implementing any speed mining. Unfortunately, the bot is not yet. It's a little bit cut off, but so it seems like it's kind of it's trying to be a little more human-esque in terms of like not using speed mining and trying to be play like reactively. But I think a lot of that is also kind of TVZ specific, and so I don't think we'll see Arty's kind of a main focus matchup here in this PvP. All right. On the other side, we got Sharkbot. Almost all of their answers for everything is a poem. In a land where the sun shines bright, there lies an ocean, a wondrous sight. Waves of cheddar so golden and grand, a cheesy delight across the land. Sharkbot loves talking about how much he loves cheese, which sometimes I feel like they don't go that crazy into cheese. I feel like before they were very heavy cheese and there was always like early aggression. But like I said, like the Oracle play, like Oracle Pro Press is not what I consider cheese. That almost seems like more macro style play.
Yeah, I think Sharkbot has been the kind of bot that has matured a bit. I don't know, like even last year, I think or last season, he was just doing all sorts of getting everything under the sun and producing every unit that could be produced. And like now he is, I think, I don't know, getting bot puberty where he's settling down onto the actual game, and he's just like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm doing it for real. And then Ender Sword has returned, but with no audio. But yeah, absolutely, it's one of the things where Sharkbot has really transformed. I think he's become more of a mature bot.
It almost feels like the opposite of stats. The very defensive style Protoss where he finally came back and he like cannon rushed for the first time, or like, you know, like started putting in a little bit of cheese. So kind of working the opposite way of Sharkbot, where I feel like Sharkbot started in the cheese and then kind of sprinkled in some like actual macro or some, you know, longer games, and kind of tried to find that that perfect mixture of, you don't know what I'm going to do because I could be really aggressive early on, or I could go for super defensive, economic, you know, kind of late game play.
Absolutely. You want to read his special?
Yeah, I'm going to do it from our website so I don't get cut off, so that I make sure that you get the whole poem.
The whole poem, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like when you do these poems, it should be like raising an incantation and something like resurrects at the end.
All right, so this is 2 adepts, because they have a lot of... Oh, all right. 2 adepts, sleek and blue, their psionic blades shimmering true. Across the field they swiftly stride, their resonating discs at their side. With practiced grace, they take their aim at hapless workers, their chosen game. In perfect sync, they start to glow, preparing shots to lay foes low. A flash of light, a brilliant beam, the workers scatter with a scream. But Adept's aim is swift and sure, their synchronized shots pure and pure. So I think that's mostly talking about the, you know, being able to line up Adept shots to actually beat, you know, shield batteries or any kind of...
The worst is, it's like having to decipher, like, have you ever played a video game where it's like one of those puzzles and then you have to like hit the riddles, like a Resident Evil 2 or 3 of the original, where they're like this like puzzle you have to like decipher to be able to move to the next room.
Yeah, and like figure out what each rhyme, what that actually means.
Yeah.
There is also
I think Endersword's audio has returned, perhaps. Oh, hooray! Yeah, no, it's returned. A little bit lower, but it's okay. We'll adjust.
And then Sharkbot does have one more poem specifically for Arty. So this is in his updates.
Wait, for Arty specifically? Oh, yes, the update.
Yeah.
These guys have been updated.
Yeah, so I kind of looked ahead, and two of these matchups, one of the bots has specifically like planned for the other, which could mean that we have two sets that are pretty one-sided, because I don't think the other bots specifically planned for the other side. But regardless, this is the other poem. In StarCraft's realm, where strategies unfold, Arty plans a proxy rush so bold. With dreams of Marines storming the foe, he schemes to pull the boys and let them go. But fate has other plans in store today. Protoss probes will come sneaking his way, and before his barracks can even start, a pylon will rise to break poor Arty's heart.
What the
Excellent.
That's
So this one's
Oh
really
my God.
specific. This is like,
Very specific. It wasn't beated out quite as well.
yeah.
I wonder if
But-
he
Yeah, the
uses
schemes-
AI to
yeah.
generate that,
Yeah.
or if he himself actually writes it.
I feel like it's got to be
I think you're
Sharkbot, right?
Oh yeah, like Sharkbot, the actual AI,
The chat, yeah.
the chat bot.
Because yeah, some of the syllables seem like,
Yeah.
A little bit
they're
long.
crammed in there. Yeah.
but that one was really descriptive.
Yeah,
I mean,
That was-
it sounds like a cannon rush to me.
It's
Oh, maybe, or just like pylon block his ramp or something and be annoying. Okay. Yeah, and sneaky, yeah. But before the barracks can start, a pylon will rise. I want to see like a, what is it, 13 pylon? However many workers you start with.
Yeah.
Just immediately build a pylon and start getting a forge and just
Wow.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
12 pylon. 13
the 12
forge.
pylon.
And get your
I
booty
remember
across the
that
map.
was back in the day. Day 9 did his Fun Day Mondays where they give a challenge.
I've
and-
heard of them, yeah.
And like the challenge for 1 week was like to do a manor nexus, build a nexus in your opponent's base and still win the game. And what's the earliest you could do that and still win the game? Turns out like 20 seconds. Like it just immediately send the first probe.
Yeah, there's some good, well, one of my favorite games of all time, SOS vs. Bunny, GSL like 2022 or something, builds the Nexus, recalls 2 Adepts, and then builds a
Yeah.
probe to build a pylon, to warp into DT. I mean,
It works.
beautiful
Love the
stuff.
recall.
We'll see if Sharkbot has any similar ideas
See
for
what
the
it
build.
is.
But,
See
I
what
think-
it is.
I think we're ready for match 1, Arty vs. Sharkbot.
Let's go.
Arty. Sharkbot.
So there is a pro boat and there are 2 SCVs out that are
There's-
splitting up in a weird way.
2 probes and 2 SCVs. This is kind of a wild start.
Yeah. So there is a proxy pylon, but it is not like blocking this stuff or anything.
Yeah, it looks
yeah.
like kind of like a 2-gate forge or like a
Yeah.
4-gate kind of setup. But yeah, it looks like one of those things where they're both going to have army units inside each other's base, and whoever turns around first kind of loses, or it just gets really weird.
Yeah, and it's kind of if you're the Protoss doing this, then you're gonna have zealots and your opponent has Marines. Your opponent also has a building that can live.
Seems
you're
pretty
not
bad in a
taking
couple.
Yeah. He's stealing a gas, but in his opponent's base. This could be an interesting long-term setup that he intends to mine the gas there once whatever this happens.
And Arty did say that, which is, it's a weird, I can see it for a base trade, but Arty had it as like a anti-rush
Yeah.
strategy, but they're gonna put their base into Sharkbot's base, and the idea is Sharkbot's base will be destroyed by the time it gets there. I don't know with no mining how strong this will actually be though. But
It is
You see, it wants to go
Yeah,
there.
a lot of this is weird in that there's nothing for really the zealots to do except come defend. So then the fact that you proxied is actually worse, unless he then makes a nexus on the other side and the intention is to move.
Yeah,
These zealots are going to nowhere.
Yeah, this is. The workers are definitely not going to be. It was kind of fine with just the SCVs because you do have that like shield regen time, but yeah, with the Marines, the zealots, I guess are just all attacking the depot and then gonna come home.
Yes, and what do? You still need to have some economy on your side. He doesn't have right now enough minerals to build another worker. He loses all these.
And the zealots are
And
not
they're
coming
not
home.
really coming home. They're exploring.
Which means that this is gonna work perfectly for Arty.
Yeah.
Arty will take the base down and then resume mining.
Yeah, and I feel we knew that. Like, so you could say potentially this is a surprise that he lifts his base and there's nothing to kill, but I don't think we saw this. Yeah, I think in the first week.
Yeah, you're just saying Arty's strategy we haven't seen
Yeah,
before?
Arty's strategy, we did see him pick up the CC. So that's kind of a known behavior. Let's do this.
Oh, so you're surprised Sharkbot did not have any.
Did not know that
Yeah.
would happen because his strategy seems predicated.
Yeah, well, and it was just so Arty specific, yeah.
and this is why he does it, right? To now just continue on. So here's the zealots, but he's going to start. It may not do him any good because these will be attacked a fair bit, but yeah, he now has to basically go kill everything, but
Oh no,
the CC, yeah,
pulling everything but the Marines.
okay, that's a lot.
He wants to repair them, but yeah, okay, so if the micro isn't like super perfect, which I mean it is bot, so like
Yeah.
the zealots should never hit them, but it is a lot of zealots. So
Yeah, I think it's tough.
maybe?
It's gonna be more the other stuff. So he gets these two buildings. They didn't lift. There's a Marine though, and they're not
Yeah, well,
reacting well to that.
Yeah, if the zealots fight the Marine like this, the Marines will
Yeah. They just don't.
have a jolly good time.
See how they react to these guys. If they come in one at a time, obviously they're dead.
Okay, yeah, I'm not having much faith in Sharkbot zealots.
And another one went to kill itself.
Arty gave Sharkbot the best chance that they were gonna have with pulling all the SCVs without the Marines.
Yeah.
But even so, the pick
there
up and
are-
move.
Yeah, there were two probes out too, but there's
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Yeah, nothing to do with them. Okay, yeah, this is just weird.
Yeah.
Overall, there were parts of this that made some sense and parts that don't, and this doesn't.
Like, does he want to just build the barracks in the same place? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the barracks go.
So,
I mean, Arty will win this eventually. Very sloppy game.
I think so.
I mean, we'll see. I feel like if Sharkbot just played at
He's-
home, this wasn't.
He's also not mining or anything, though. Part of this whole
isn't
plan.
mining.
He's mining a tiny bit.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
not much. it's like a worker,
Yeah.
but he at least is mining, so there won't be a draw clause or anything like.
Yeah.
You know, like
Okay.
he'll do enough, and eventually, I hope, do another all in to the other side of the map.
Yeah, you should be able to see all the buildings.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, a lot here kind of doesn't. So what was the gas deal for?
Well, yeah, if you know, yeah, the gas deal makes sense if Sharkbot didn't mention Arty in the poll. If this wasn't
Yeah.
an Arty specific,
Yeah.
this is an anti-Marine rush. Marine rush is pretty, famously, obviously, not big on gas.
Not huge.
They're building racks and they're building Marines and some depots. So yeah, I feel like for the specificity of the build, it wasn't very specific.
Yeah.
It was missing some core parts of Arty's game. Gameplay.
Yeah, I think just on the fundamental level is trying to base trade a Terran with no gas doesn't work.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah, because they can left. So at the best, you're at a draw situation. Well, let's see if that was just kind of an anomaly or if there's something else that Sharkbot could do. He's got potentially other. Hopefully, he's at least programmed in. Hey, if that doesn't work, go to something else.
Yeah, even if it's just what you were playing last week.
Yeah,
non-Arty specific at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see as we go on to Site Delta and potentially see something different. If he does the same thing, I think we're gonna get the same thing.
Sharkbot.
Okay. I was gonna say this looks like the same thing, but it's actually 5 workers, so this is gonna be more of a worker rush than a proxy pylon. And they caught the first 2 workers, so no barracks is going down at all.
Yeah, and it's clearly triggered some sort of defense here. He's triggered some defense, and this is weird too.
I was gonna say a lot of things have been triggered where like both bots are freaking out. Sharkbot trying to obviously go to the high ground, but because Arty so walled off, causing the probes to all clump up and not actually get up that ramp to get vision to see the depots and to actually attack anything.
Yeah, Sharkbot is getting the forge itself. There's no proxy pylon put down yet because it seems they want to get up to that corner high ground, but that's been walled off already. When you see the probes doing their little dance, I think it's because of this depot dropping. And when it does that, pathfinding sends them back up there until it closes again.
Yeah, every time it opens up, they start moving towards the ramp and then closes up. I feel like if you're doing a worker pull, I don't know, cannon rush just seems pretty expensive. If you're gonna be 5 workers down, like, out the gate.
It's weirdly, you're 5 workers down, but Arty somehow is more. So even if you take at least 5, you're 10 to 9. Because a bunch of them died for no reason at the bottom of the ramp. And Arty just has not built them. So he had the initial 12, built none, and then lost 3.
Well, and he's expanded. I actually feel like the forge just doesn't seem like the follow-up, you know, like get your worker damage and then come back home or get some zealots or something. But if you're gonna try to like leapfrog cannons, I feel like the timing and the money just like doesn't lie. It's kind of like the muta play where it's like you can have a really fast cannon, but like you can't win with one cannon on the low ground. You know, like it just takes more than that.
He's still there where he's trying to put the pile on. Yeah. The other one trying to do it.
Angles, see if
somehow. This will work.
Did Arty see that probe? How would he have seen that?
Yeah, that is weird.
It was like triggered in a very weird way. But maybe once you have enough Marines, then you should start patrolling over here because this is like Oracle meta, you know, like some sort of timing that you're kind of looking out for. But that did seem
possible that he was trying to command out of the base, and because the wall was up.
Oh, they also got. Yeah.
So we originally, before the game, called Sharkbot human looking. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
In this game.
And our Sharkbot has gotten so into the eco where I like the expand, but now chrono boosting both Nexi and only building workers is going to be.
Yeah, you've got to have some defense here, whether
really rough.
It's cannons, units, whatever. This is already enough.
Zero army. Zero army. and nothing even being made. And the craziest thing is that 5 probes died to these Marines.
Yeah.
So the Marines were just so conveyed.
It's now getting the cyber core built. We could be getting
a stalker on a high ground with like 3 stim.
There's so many Marines at this point, though, but he could have multiple ones out.
I mean, yeah, it's nice that they're destroying this Nexus first and not in even the most like, efficient way. Because I think they had 2 or 3 stalkers, perfectly kiting like pre-stim Marines can do a lot, but you kind of have to catch them in front. You have to not catch them when your back is.
immediately caught first. Yeah, shield battery way too late at that point. Like, could have, especially that he took like an extra minute on Nexus on the low ground.
Yeah.
Shield batteried up.
Yeah, even if you started when the shot started on the Nexus, yeah, you'd still have enough time, but everything was just so delayed. I really liked some parts of it, of Sharkbot's idea. I think especially doing a worker rush when you think they're proxying and like hopefully going through their proxy location. Like best case, first 20 seconds, best case scenario, like by far. And then like the forge was a little bit weird. The Nexus was awesome, but you kind of have to like give up on getting damage on the other side.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you take the Nexus, bring those 5 workers, recall them or something, because like you're not doing the kill them now strategy. So there's no reason to like lose everything on that side when you don't have to. You know, when you're not trying to force damage.
3 buildings.
The one Marine's got it.
Yeah. Should be able to see it. Yeah.
Base is under attack.
One will continue.
I already clocked out, unless you want me to clock back in.
Yep,
This could
we'll
be a
eventually get there.
cinematic, you know? David versus Goliath.
You can see they're going right to the Nexus point and then rallying away.
Yeah, regrouping with the rest of them. Eventually, Sharkbot will go down. This is...
I quit.
Oh no. This is a little bit of a shocker to me. This is one of the
Yeah.
matchups where one of the bots clearly was like, I know what you do, I know how to beat it, and this is what I'm gonna do against you. And Arty didn't really have that at all. Almost even more opposite. Arty was like, all right, so TVZ is what I love. And if it's not TVZ, this is what I'm gonna do. And so like for Arty to have come out pretty this game should have been an Arty loss, and it still looked so one-sided at the end.
Yeah.
I feel like
Sharkbot was confident enough that he was done coding that he went and wrote a poem.
multiple yeah.
Yeah. So, but it just didn't work out. So I think maybe there must have been an assumption or something bedded in, particularly that first game, that he just kind of
First game seems like
overlooked.
it went as you would expect it to go. You know, like that was
Yeah.
like the test game.
Yeah.
And it still didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, so whether he didn't know or had the oversight on like the lift off, but like the moment I saw that, it was like, yeah, your opponent's lift off, it's on, do it already. But yeah, now we're gonna have Arty mine out. This may again be one of these situations where one, he'll long distance mine and probably keep the draw thing from happening. Like he'll just go to the
But we'll just give it to Arty eventually.
Because Sharkbot,
it's
yeah,
obvious,
Sharkbot,
yeah.
you can see 0 APM for over 5 minutes. He's lost.
You
Like,
can't do anything. Yeah.
yeah.
No units.
It's weird to say he's the Mike Tyson of this fight, but that's what it is. Multiple rounds, no punches thrown.
Standing his ground.
Jake falls the win.
Yeah, slowly but
I
surely.
don't think we will get an end to this game, right? I guess
Yeah.
eventually it times out.
It'll go to judges.
Okay, he's
It's not
not
gonna
even
go to KO.
He's not even long distance mining, so eventually we'll just go to draw. That's great.
Yeah, right before the 30-minute mark, it'll go. I think it's 5 minutes, right?
I think it's fine.
No unit produced, killed, or resource.
He also, I realized too, he probably has coded this in such a way that once he hits that 39 supply, he's not building any more depots or anything either, so he can't build any more units.
Yeah, he's like, I've
Yeah.
won or lost at this
Yeah,
point, is the
it's over.
assumption. Alright,
There
and
we
then
don't
the
even
highlights.
see the final screen. We'll just get to the end. But because of our knockout rule of it requires movement of some kind by the opponent. Sharkbot is out.
Arty's gonna go ahead and take that one. Yeah, and like I said, a lot more decisive that I thought it was gonna be decisive Sharkbot's favor. So very fun first match, and Arty looking pretty strong against against all in versus all in. Terran Arty has such an advantage, and that strat does work kind of well for that kind of all in situation. So we'll see who Arty gets paired against in the single elim, but that could be, if it's like a Xena or like a Zozo, some cheesy non-Terran, Arty could make a little run.
Yeah, it could could definitely happen there. And Arty at least had here the response to recognize and wall off in time and kind of at least adapt to it a tiny bit. Doesn't know how to like finish a game or anything, but at least, you know, did a tiny bit of something before it kind of froze up. But Sharkbot was luckily for Arty dead at that time. So Arty will advance. That's the second Arty one that has been decided like that, right? Or am I thinking of, because we had, was it Arty that floated?
I thought the last one
And
Arty would have lost though, right? Because the Terran, because it was
Yeah.
stalkers trying to find.
yeah,
the
yeah,
Terran.
he lost that
It was a
one. Yeah, yeah.
PVZ.
It
I
was
forget.
him that lifted up. Yeah.
I forget who it was against.
Was that against Deimos? Because he was 2-1 against Deimos.
Oh, maybe.
And I think there's one. Yeah.
It was Deimos. Okay.
So there
Deimos'
so
protocol.
Arty was floating a single barracks.
And Deimos
despite
was the one that
fact
couldn't.
there were like zealots and stalkers even
Yeah.
underneath it. Yeah.
It's like that, the cat walking by and the mouse is like
Yeah.
pressed up against the table underneath it.
Exactly. So yeah, so Arty getting 2 weird games in 2 matchups, so he'll be the one to advance. But Sharkbot still has another chance in the consolation match. Will get knocked down there, but still has a chance to claw through. But yeah, I think Sharkbot kind of attempted the snipe but missed. And
Yeah.
So happens. We'll see how that goes in the future. May get a second chance later on in the tournament to go back at that one.
Yeah,
So-
I may want to take a more generalist approach and just try to, keep it simple, stupid. Don't over, correct everything
Yeah.
for an opponent, and then your opponent does something slightly different, or set something off the rails, and then you don't have
Yeah.
a billion matches that Sharkbot's played on this kind of, version
Especially
or build
for
order.
a build like that where it just goes and then stops. So you can try and like evade and counterpunch, or you can just absorb it correctly and then play normal.
Play your game. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think by trying to like do this evasive I'll cheese you first sort of thing, you actually create the possibility to fail. Whereas if you just, it's not that strong of a
Punch.
push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're trying to counterpunch and
absorb it.
they're not in the spot you think they are, like it's just a whiff. You're also just whiffing in the
Exactly. So there we go on to match number 2 for the night. It's going to be Xena versus MicroMachine. Xena, a random bot that has gotten a lot stronger in the past couple of seasons, and MicroMachine, our perennial kind of guard of the elite, basically. Strategy very aggressive. Weaknesses are defense and late game air. MicroMachine can get into that, but it does tend to happen fairly late. Special is advanced resource allocation to create robust and optimized builds, which is good when you're trying to design for 3 races. So you pretty much have to have a whole bunch of build setups here. And it is built from scratch, not using any third-party framework. Very versatile bot. Like, this is a very ambitious bot overall, even from the beginning. And now that it plays like macro games and stuff too,
it's been doing
even
pretty well.
crazier.
I feel like I see the name a lot nowadays.
Indeed. MicroMachine here, aggressive with good macro and adapts well to enemy strategy. Does do that fairly well. Weakness is that it hasn't changed really anything in years. Does basically the same thing. Test different strategies on its opponent and select the one that works the most often, but that doesn't really help as much during tournaments, as you'll see that it will start off with like 0, 0, 0, and so on. But it will announce kind of what its build is going to be and what its past record is and things like that.
Which I do love. Any bots that announce stuff to us so we know what they're thinking.
Yeah,
It's always
cool.
so nice, yeah.
Yeah, this is another part that it does tend to announce out loud, makes use of a combat simulator to decide if it's going to engage or not, and uses an influence map to find paths of least danger to get to a goal. You'll often see it during the game announce its supply and what it thinks its opponent's supply is in terms of army, and then make a decision on attack or retreat, sort of thing. So it will say in chat. And additional, no additional, but I think the bot is French.
Okay, we. Yeah, it seems like both these bots are going to be pretty aggressive early on.
Yeah. MicroMachine tends to open like Reaper into like Hellion or Cyclone into Banshee, eventually get up the battleship or battle cruiser, that sort of thing.
Okay, but pretty scrappy early units. I feel like Cyclone, Heli, like all those units are like, I'm not going to save these. These are going to be to one-on-one whatever scrappy units you make.
Yeah, kind of. It does save the Cyclones fairly well. Like it tends to not let things die. It always retreats if something's injured. But Reapers are whatever. But yeah, I think it'll be a lot based on what Xena does, and we of course don't know what race Xena is going to end up with, and that changes a lot of what MicroMachine's going to do too. But let's hop in and find out what's going on.
Xena. MicroMachine.
So we are going to get the TVT set up here, and Xena is already out with the first SCV, possibly for a sneaky barracks.
And a second SCV following up.
Yeah.
And TVT is definitely can get very scrappy with early Reapers and stuff. And it can get very snowbally as well.
I sense a problem.
Oh, that's gonna be so sad.
Yeah. What is it with everyone today?
Just get the heck out of the way,
so
dude.
Yeah, why he's trying to go. You can see where he's trying to click now. And for some reason he cannot.
I think the other worker's just on hold command for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Strange. Oh, he's drifting. He's drifting. Get out of there. Get out of my green frame.
I'll build it. No,
they're trying to both build in the same spot. Yep.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Definitely late, but MicroMachine's expanding, which is pretty good for him.
Yeah.
Or pretty good for like Xena, that MicroMachine is expanding. And then Xena's also going 2 barracks at
Yeah.
Kind of
a total of 4. I wonder if that was at all triggered by the weird delay, or if this was the whole plan to go into a Marine Heavy. I think have seen Xena just do like a big mass wing, like 5-6 racks.
Why the separation?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're gonna come in with a ball of Marines, you kind of want them together. I was really expecting Reapers, but yeah, there is no gas taken, so it will be just Marines coming out of these 4 barracks, and they're gonna have to, you know, group up at some point.
Yeah, strange start, so that will be a weird delay, but it weirdly puts the 4 barracks like in sync. But now a Reaper is here, and MicroMachine Reapers do tend to do a lot of damage if left unchecked at any time. There is a Marine coming to help out, but doesn't quite know how to deal with it. The other way.
Yeah, I feel like in TVT, especially because Xena obviously knows that MicroMachine's key. I guess the Marines are gonna hit at least on MicroMachine's side. But I feel like Reaper is just such an important like, early game part of TVT, where like in other matchups you can kind of get away with going Marine first and not getting that early Reaper. But I feel like in Terran versus Terran, like if they have a Reaper and you don't, you're in such a disadvantage for so long until you have like 8 Marines or like something really substantial that can fight it. But early on, it sucks to not have a Reaper.
Yeah, very true. They're kind of helping grenade a Hellion out with a tiny handful of Marines. Kind of start to whittle this down before they get too big. This is already a pretty big. He's got to land some pretty good splash with the Hellion, but it's not now. If you're going to pull the SCVs there, it has to be everything else is attacking. Now he's going to pull back.
Yeah, and that there was only one Reaper made, right? So the Reaper that died in MicroMachine's base was pulled back from Xena's base. which I think is a pretty big mistake. I think if that Reaper's on the other side, and you have perfect micro, yeah, just clear the entire mineral line and make this an all-in. As of how it is, this is enough damage. Like Xena doesn't even have to kill.
Here. Yeah, I think he had the opportunity when he had the second Hellion pop out, a whole block of SCVs. He could have gone in scorched enough, and he had like 4 Marines with him. Could have stopped him then, but yeah, there'd be an overrun.
Yeah, well, and yeah, they're just too much at Xena's home. I feel like you have to make this an all-in from Xena, and then it still is a close one. It's still like annoying, but yeah, it's feasible if you have something on the other side. Now it's for sure over.
Yeah, I think too we get the situation we've talked about a number of times over the years, really, that you have things that make an assessment that it may not be a beneficial fight, but you're in your base, or you're in your natural or something. Like there's no option.
Yeah.
But still in the middle of your own base with everything burning down, your units are trying to retreat, but there's no other. There has to be a point at which you're like, there is no.
There'll be no
option.
better time. Yeah.
And we just gotta go.
Because you should only really wait if there's going to be a better fight for you later on. You know, and if you're down economically, if you're down, you know, there are a lot of reasons that like waiting is not the right answer. There are a lot of reasons that waiting is the right answer. You know, there are plenty of times that you do want to take an extra second, but yeah, like in your base or there's nowhere to run to, it starts looking a lot more grim. Kind of have to stand up and fight, or you're just gonna slowly die. Kind of like those, the Zealots versus the Marines last set, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I know you're not gonna want to run at them, but you're never gonna hit them if you just.
So now are you gonna get this stuff? Where is anybody shooting the stupid thing?
Do you not see it when it's in it? Like,
yeah, they at least
it like lifts up and they're like, where the hell?
Yeah, they're just going right under. So yeah, there we go. So Xena does take match number 1 in a fairly quick one. Almost glitched out there right from the very beginning, but luckily kind of like pushed himself to safety by getting the SCVs out of each other's way, basically. But yeah, I think right after this, when he has a second right now, basically, he should go. Everything goes. The SCVs go forward and the Hellions do not.
Well, and it's even like half the SCVs and the other half. Yeah, like it's just very uncoordinated. Where if everything goes and if you get any kind of surround with the SCVs, Hellions just get to go crazy.
Yeah, they just scored that.
Also, when the Marines broke the supply depot and they had to go like the long way around, sometimes going around like the corners, that's where Hellion shots can be so gorgeous because you just have everyone has to like hug that edge. So yeah, and like I don't know, I feel like the wall also like was not fought around very much. Like MicroMachine was kind of coming down the ramp to fight and then retreating all the way back in the base, where like there was no repair on the depots and like trying to use that high ground. It was pretty either in the natural or in the main, which you want to take advantage of that ramp as the defender, of course.
True, quite true indeed. And because Xena is a random bot, of course, we're unlikely to get the same sort of thing happening yet again, unless he also rolls Terran again. But we'll hop into match number 2, or game number 2 at least, and see what.
Xena. MicroMachine.
All right, we got Xena as Protoss, and we have a much less aggressive build.
Yeah, a note on the map. Things look pretty normal. It is 2-gate.
Oh, okay.
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 It's not gonna be that much less aggressive.
Yeah. It'll just be. I mean, it's like the 4 barracks where it's like if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it in one spot. If it's just gonna be a massive units. And with the gas taken, it looks like it'll be, I'm assuming, just stock. Just get as many freaking stalkers out as you can and go. Maybe adepts? You don't take another
Adepts
gas
is
soon?
possible. Adepts take a lot of control, but yeah, I wouldn't put that past them. Adepts, though, rely more on not being walled out.
That's true. Like
whereas the
versus
stock
building
is just
damage.
more about attack. Yeah.
Yeah. I do know some people love adepts versus early marines and stuff. You know, like versus Terran,
Yeah,
they can be a little bit gross sometimes. But we'll see. It's just not that much gas if it's all like I feel like 3 stalkers per gate. I don't know. All right, stalkers so far, and then we'll get probably a 4th gate to be able to reinforce. I mean, I like it.
Props going up.
Stalkers are
again, they're-
so good early on.
They are quite. Reaper will get in immediately. Turn around.
He's not gonna go home.
Guess so.
That's-
Saw enough and went home.
Kind of crazy to me. All right. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
Seeing
I guess
the
confirms
pylon-
that it's one base, but yeah, but
seeing the
didn't see
pylon with
any-
no building maybe just triggers like a proxy reaction. But like, how would you
I
not
di-
check
I
the
didn't-
ramp?
Yeah, he also, I feel, didn't even go in deep enough to see if there wasn't a building. There could have easily been
Well-
one to the right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like-
Like you saw the pylon, but didn't even see the
Yeah,
full
you
radius
didn't
of
see
the pylon.
radius
Yeah.
of the pylon.
Yeah, definitely a weird amount of information to be this afraid. Like it just seems like the depth you really, or the Reaper you're really gonna want to use on the probe. You know, you want to get in there ASAP.
This is an okay,
weird.
despite not really seeing much, this is an okay defense so far. We got a tank here at the top of the ramp, set back a little bit with a wall off. He is just
I think the Reaper
back
just
there.
saw.
Reaper there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even before that scout, like you were saying, MicroMachine kind of playing the correct way of taking a expansion in their main, already have a tank out, and actually gonna go for the counter damage with Banshee. So if MicroMachine can last long enough, there definitely is no rope. This tank is huge. Can you hit it from here? Okay, not the
and
worst.
once again, the Marines didn't help though or anything. They're chilling back, but are not engaging.
And the SCVs. I mean, no repair on the depot or the tank is kind of outrageous where that's the only unit you need to survive. And it's already gone. It's okay.
Yeah, that's the type of thing you need. Like the whole point of those other units is to buffer for that sort of thing. Is to give that tank 2 extra shots before it dies, and to make this group more manageable.
Why is this Cyclone driving out 13?
Yeah,
Stalkers.
and the cloak on the Banshee is going to be done pretty soon.
And MicroMachine's natural stuff. Like,
Yeah,
this is a game where it definitely should be over, but if you give MicroMachine time, Xena does
Yeah,
not
you just
have
laugh.
a way up. Like, there's
only 6 workers. There is, like you said, a second CC, so you can kind of come back from that. I don't know whether it was like maybe an overreaction to a Banshee being there, that it seems to have retreated and gone into a detection base.
I would say, yeah, the fact that the robo starting, it does seem like it's Banshee related.
Yeah, I think that it sees that.
But damn,
Spots.
almost just cutting off the head and then leaving MicroMachine to see if they can survive. Which, yeah, the second CC, like, I feel like if you get them both in the orbitals and you get some fuels dropping, it does not take that long if Xena doesn't expand for the Terran to become like on
Yeah,
par and yeah.
Yeah, and we've got the attack back in here now.
So we have a Reaper
I
in
assume is that the Reaper?
Xena's. Oh, the Banshee, right. Magna so
Maybe lost our observer again.
Listen, like we've been looking at this depot for a minute.
Full depot.
Oh no. Alright, the stalkers are being pulled back. The robo is done, but there's no observer. Oh, can I open up Parsec and join? Can I just take over?
Work? Yeah.
They had to get like approved probably before I go in.
The stalkers will eventually come into our vision.
Yeah, I mean, we see the stalkers. Everyone just looking really closely at the bottom left. You see the stalkers attacking the natural. Another group of stalkers, I assume, just cleaned up the Banshee.
Yeah.
Because the Observer just finished. So that half is coming over as well. And with the army supply of Micro Machine being at 15, it does not look like Xena will give them enough time to actually surmount an economy and an army and everything like that. But it actually, it was a little scary.
See the debris as they're coming. There we go.
The dead bodies slowly floating towards us.
Okay, we'll clean this up. But yeah, I think it was. We're back. But yeah, I think it was right at that moment that Xena saw the tech lab with the upgrade going. That there was like this immediate pullback. Funny that the instinct was not to jump
on the tech lab. Yeah.
Stop the upgrade happen, an immediate pullback. Like, it's one thing to see that as a trigger and be like, okay, I'm going to build a robo right away, but I'm going to retreat and build a robo right away. Yeah.
Well, and it feels like you have 100 Marines against one Tempest, and all the Marines are like, well, I can't fight that Tempest myself. And so none of them are going to fight it. And it's like, well, like, one Banshee, you guys can probably just keep fighting. You know, just ignore it. But I get one Stalker versus a Banshee that you can't hit. You're going to want to run away. But yeah, there's some other things that need to come into play when deciding those kind of decisions.
Indeed.
Clean set from Xena. Pretty, I mean, it was scary where maybe we're going to give Micro Machine a little bit too much leeway of coming back, but I mean, a pretty brutal game this game. And last game also was fairly one-sided, I felt like.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a push directly into the main, and then yeah. So it's this part here. You've got a group of Marines behind, and you should be able to buffer a little bit before that group dies. So you're trying to get the tank like 2 more shots, basically.
Yeah, like a few more tank shots go just such a long way in destroying Stalker armies.
Yeah, everything's pumped up on the ramp. Everything had its shields down, was getting into the yellow, and it doesn't take a lot to make like.
I think that tank also maybe was a little close to the ramp, where the Stalkers almost could have just like started shooting at that instead of the depot. But then you also don't get as many shots when they're coming up the ramp, so it's a little rough. But yeah, I think just a ton of SCVs to repair, and then just a body block for the tank, and then to repair the, just lay their life on the line for that tank. And then maybe Micro Machine could have stayed in here a little longer, but as it was, Xena, the random bot, getting into the elimination or playoff, single elim playoff.
Indeed, Micro Machine will still have another chance in the consolation match, but for now, Xena is through. And also for now, we are hopping to a 5-minute break as we get into match number 3 and 4 and make sure that our observer is securely connected. So
during that time, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, put your bots in the, put your boats in the chat. Let us know who you want to win. And yeah, we'll be back in like 5-ish minutes with some more great bot games. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back, man. Those games, I think if we were to sum it up in one word, I'd use the word janky.
Hog, but yeah, I like jank. So
I mean, you know what though? Good on Arty for taking out Deimos and now taking out Sharkbot.
Well, and taking out a Sharkbot that smelled Arty blood in the water. That was like, Arty, I'm gonna mess you up.
Got bopped, unfortunately. The reverse bop. Didn't see it coming. And you know what though? I did not see that coming because Sharkbot was ready for him, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get like trounced. And Arty was like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And
well, and Sharkbot almost tried to play Arty's game. Like let's just swing and punch, and which the absorbing, I think it's just
he had the 2 options. He's like, okay, I found out that my opponent plays rock, so I'm gonna play rock too. It's like, man,
I'm
play
gonna
paper.
throw it so fast.
Whenever Sharkbot plays properly, quote unquote properly, he styles. He is so stylish. But whenever he tries to go off script, he's just like wavy inflatable tube man.
Yeah.
So
the ideas were almost like too specific. Where if anything went wrong, like the wall off, and then all 5 probes are just like hanging out for 2.5 minutes on the low ground, and unfortunate.
I mean,
even the second set I thought was kind of an upset. I wasn't sure if Xena was gonna keep it going with the random bot. I feel like they usually go far, but not like. I feel like playoffs is kind of like a round where they kind of usually stop, or like where they're.
I thought Xena was done after that when the two SCVs got stuck. I was like, okay, rip.
Oh yeah,
them getting out of that was kind of just a weird thing of bouncing off each other to the left
and slowly shimmying their.
I mean, that's like clip material, and I was like, I need to do like a little highlight of that, because that's actually I thought they were done. I'm like, there's no way you're coming back from this, but yet Xena showed us that even from a bug, that it's like one of those like a 3-body problem. They just collided and they just released themselves from each other's orbit and they're free. There we have it. So let's see where we are. We're now in the second half of our show, and let's see the other half of that bracket.
Rectangles.
Thinner rectangles.
Indeed, they are, and it will be Caninana versus Zozo. So if you think the cheese is done, it is not. Zozo is definitely going to pull out some like proxy zealot type stuff, and
it just doesn't end.
Which I feel like Zozo loves to play against Zerg. Like I feel like the zealots love to go against like Ling Queen and then like just win.
Yeah,
I feel like TVZ is money for the cheese matchup.
Yeah, so that could be a quick one way or the other there as well. And then I think we had T-Bone versus Tier. Tearbone versus T-Bone.
That's Tier.
Tier is also kind of counter-coding. It sounded like T-Bone, which we'll talk about a little more when we get to that match. But Tier has been a successful sniper in the past of specifically countering his opponent. So we'll talk about that one when it comes up.
Yeah, we have Tier is the master of 1,000 builds, and you never know which one might pop up in front of you. So I feel like we don't really see a lot of the rotations of Tier's builds as we used to. I feel like in the earlier days, Tier was pulling out a new build every matchup. Even random builds that he just heard us talk about randomly, he would just
take requests.
Yeah. So, but now we sort of stabilized. I think Deimos has become a problem for Deimos, Eris, and the other planetary bodies that float around in the brackets have become a problem for him. So he doesn't want to mess around with that too much. And we did have a sense that Tier initially was a dominant bot. He dominated the brackets until Eris and other bots just came up into the ranks, and now there is this, you can't sleep on the other bots. Like essentially, once you get this far, you just can't sleep on them, or you're gonna get bopped out. So that's where
the playing field has gotten a lot higher.
Yeah,
it's not just the top bots that you have to worry about. It's like, well, there could be a random bot that
that's it, right? Someone can change
strategies. Yeah,
like we're in this age now where even some of them were thicker bots, and I say thicker in terms of code, can get defeated by the thin, sleek. I've coded 252 perfectly efficient lines of code to take you out. Your 1,000 lines are actually your weakness. So we're seeing that now, and I'm kind of excited. This new era, I think, because usually when you see lower amount of code, you think, oh, this bot has nothing to it. But 12 pool bot. What else is in that? Is that Art? No.
I feel like last week we had like 2 of them.
Is it Tartarus?
Tartarus had 286 lines of code.
Yeah, so Tartarus.
There were a couple like below 300 that was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so that kind of rhetoric of terms of their code is really changing the head regardless of like the size of their code lines. So yeah, absolutely. And before we started, sorry, the production was like talking in my ear, but before we get started, guys, before we go to the second half of it, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because you want to get more ProBots, all the AI content here, all of it, I'm pretty sure we're the only place on YouTube where you can get StarCraft 2 AI bot content, other than Laughing Games. I mean, like, us two are the only ones. So you have to subscribe to one of us. And since you're here, you might as well subscribe to
You
us.
can
So,
subscribe to both. Too.
I mean, it's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you just subscribe to us,
Fine.
figure out if you want to subscribe to both. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously check out aiandarena.net for where all these bots are playing. And if you are so inclined and you want to join us on our Mondays, !join up in the membership. Someone in the chat do that for me. Okay, so I think that's time. I'll let you guys take us off to our next games.
Indeed. And yeah, so we kind of previewed it, but I expect Zozo basically to be going into something cheesy. We'll see if their profiles come up here for us. Caninana, a Zergbot that's been with us for several seasons. Are you? Yeah. Here, Caninana is a bot with a reactive playstyle. Tries to survive the early game, which is probably a good call here, and make it to the mid-late game with spellcasters. So again, the key is going to be surviving that early game against this cheesy Protoss opponent.
And this is kind of the absorb kind of strategy that you're talking about, which I think the next match we're actually going to be, they're going to be kind of similar, where it's going to be like one bot kind of trying to absorb and continue on to later game, and one bot kind of hoping that the heyday of the early game is where they can make their money.
As issues dealing with cheese and timing attacks can be an issue in this particular matchup, so we'll see how that ends up going. The learning method, I bet he's very tactile. And needs to see and work with his hands to figure things out.
Hands on.
No, yeah, there's no information, but that's my assumption. Has many features like map analysis, combat simulation, army splitting, and adaptive army composition. I think one of the, again, we've seen it, one of the most important things is just knowing when to attack, when to retreat, and then making that decision firmly. And we'll see how that comes into play in this one. And in the additional, don't know if we got any data there, it's the only Rust bot to frequently qualify to ProBots, and no frameworks are used.
I hate to toot my own horn, but
Indeed.
pretty impressive.
Yeah. Who knew that you could code a bot while playing Rust? But hey, survival game. Makes sense.
Yeah, I just think of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Rust. All good things. All good.
And Zozo over here, focused on quote-unquote cheese strategies in the early game. Zozo often employs tactics like the Pro Brush and Proxy Zealot Rush 0. I don't know if that's intentional or he just cut off. Weaknesses to turtle builds make some sense. Obviously, just kind of wall off, turtle up, put static defense in. It's going to be harder to break here. Nothing special. It just basically, I expect the Zealot Rush unless something has changed. And Zozo was initially meant to be a simple sparring partner, a worker rush bot that would challenge with relentless probes attack. However, it's become unexpectedly effective and it evolved into a standalone bot. It definitely has become unexpectedly effective, especially with the eventual transition into the Zealot thing, which again just seems like such a simple thing to stop, but is not.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one of those, like a lot of things, the snowball factor is sometimes hard to gauge exactly how big that ball is right now, and if you misgauge it, then there's no going back. You know, if you fight it once and you lose, that is the entire game pretty much. So yeah, hopefully the analysis from Caninana for when to engage and when to pull back is very on point. I think Zozo will be testing that.
Yeah. Okay. We have to delay for a tiny bit, so we're going to stall by talking about a relevant thing. But actually, what is still kind of relevant, and we've seen Zerg struggle with over a long time, is very often the real defense. 10 minutes. Very often the real time the real thing that these Zergs should be doing in a lot of these situations is static defense, is putting down spine
I was
crawlers.
gonna say, yeah. How many
That's
spines do you think?
Yeah, that's just kind of what the defense is, and whether it's a human game or a bot game or whatever, it's the only thing that can really like stand in the very early game, given that lings are very squishy and queens can be like a good backbone, but you can't like really commit with a queen, or like you can't afford to lose it either.
I think
Yeah,
the biggest problem is like you have larva and the actual hatches that are so limiting in the amount of queens and lings that you can have.
Yeah.
Where if you had 20 lings, you could fight 3 zealots or whatever. But yeah, you're fighting with like 6 ling, 12 ling, 2 queens, Matt. Like it's just so little that yeah, I feel like spine crawlers have to be utilized at least to some degree. If not, like just build them right as you see something and like
yeah, you got to just preemptively do it, because usually even before they get up, it's then a little bit of a sparring match between like the zealots are trying to not get surrounded and the lings are trying to catch them, but you're really just stalling for time. The zealots are the one that are on the clock to attack because that spine's trying to get up. That's usually the situation that you see in these sorts of proxy type games, is just that the zealot is such a standing force that it can withstand a lot of punishment, whereas something like Marines doing the same thing, it's not quite the same. You can get attrition on them, whereas if you just go in and do poke damage on the zealot, it'll heal it because of the shield. So it's not the same sort of level of effectiveness, and we've seen that kind of happen over a long period of time, that struggle. And I think the tendency, like, you kind of in a lot of like human games, you kind of want your opponent to overcommit because each one of those is a drone and minerals and stuff. But I think in the bot side, just overcommit. Just do it and it'll be fine. Because if somebody's doing that, there's like usually not a big backup plan anyway.
I feel like these bots are usually pretty, there aren't too many mind games going on, because it's so impossibly hard to tell how much the other bot's going to respect what you're actually showing them. And so these aren't going to be, like, it looks like a all-in, but I'm going to take a natural behind this. These usually are just full sends where kind of the rock, paper, scissors of attack, defend, and expand, or, like, eco is kind of like what you're choosing between. And so, Zozo should be on a timer, but the timer only starts when Caninana puts down that static defense. Where if that doesn't get put down, then like it can kind of go back and forth, and then the next 3 zealots, because the other lings have been cleared, like it can just kind of keep getting worse and worse for the Zerg. Once those spines are started, then there's an actual clock where it's like if you do not do substantial damage or like stop these spines, Caninana should be able to stabilize, get an eco going, and should just be in a better spot altogether.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that the bots tend to struggle with is the concept of, even if you do get the proper static defense, building placement is very often an issue. That they kind of know to do it, but they don't know how to line it up right, or like make sure that like the spines are all in range. They just kind of put 3 seemingly random locations in some cases, but then beyond that, you then have to fight in the spine range. And they'll get baited out, or they'll, basically not kind of understand the concept of falling back to your static defense line. It seems to be something that a lot of the bots struggle with, whether it's spines or cannons or a bunker or whatever. They don't kind of respect. It's funny because the attacking enemy very often has a great deal of respect for static defense, but the defending force doesn't respect the cover being given to it.
Hard to love yourself,
Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy to see it on others, but when it's your own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also, so you talked about like the placing of spines, and spines have like the extra rough part of being able to unburrow and burrow them back in. And we've also seen some terrible, you have 3 spines at the top of a ramp, you come down the ramp, and like the queens and the lings and the spines are all hitting each other, and no one's attacking, and then you lose all your spines before they even get to do a hit, And so, the way that you kind of want to be like leapfrogging them, kind of like tanks, or like you don't really want to have all 3 up while they're getting hit by Zell. You know, like if you're
Yeah.
in the attacking zone, one of them's got to be down. You got to have something to fall back to. And so yeah, there is a weird. You can set the clock and then still screw it up, but you should be able to if you have the spines, and you have good enough control. Not crazy, just not big mistakes like, having them clonk together and look like archons.
Things.
Yeah, trying to get around each other, and it can be really ugly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one thing too. Like again, the bots have issue dealing with of like knowing things like, hey, do I have 10 seconds to make this move? And they don't really know. It's just, can I see zealots right now or not? And like the fact that they're a foot out of range, it doesn't have intuition of like, oh, he probably backed up to here, or he probably did this, or like I'm probably good for this range. And I think too, while we as again people can see that, like there's always then a next mode of like, what is my waves of safety that are coming? So it's like lings out, spines down, speed done on the lings, transition into roaches, that sort of thing. But in every point, the bots are kind of dealing with the now.
Yeah. It's like the idea of a changing wind condition.
Yeah.
And that wind condition changing on your opponent. And then it's like a ton of different things of like object permanence and like being able to consider future, just like a lot of these abstract kind of very human specific things that also I think add to, create anxiety and create all these problems of us being so, tried and true to figure everything out and to have a plan for literally everything and to have it all line up and thinking about all these different situations when they're not happening, but they could happen. The double-edged blade of being a human and thinking of all that. But it's a very apparent problem of like when you see the bots only being able to really react to what exactly they see and not what probably is happening or what has happened before. There's so many things that obviously do not get considered.
Yeah, and identify, like we saw in our last match before the break, the identification of a moment that was like, this is my best chance sort of thing of like, so while bots can track stuff, obviously, like, this is my supply, this is their supply, whatever. So a unit popping out may trigger an attack. It doesn't have the thinking to be like it's really, really dealing in the here and now. So if it thinks the SCV should go, it's not saying, but I'm about to get a third Hellion. Why don't I hold those for like 3 seconds and then I'll go when I have that? It doesn't do that. So if it's like, it doesn't know like that's better, or like, so you often get a syncing up problem with it when it comes to attacks that like, and again, in human games, it's very often that first half a second of the engagement that determines who wins. It's just how cleanly and completely you hit at the same time. But you have a lot of bots where it's clear things trickle in, things aren't synced up. Well, and it just doesn't work.
And especially when games get kind of weird and the bots are kind of made for specific, like, okay, maybe if you do hit and you haven't got touched this entire time, at 4 minutes you will have 30 Marines, 2 tanks, 3 medevac. But if anything happens before then or after then, then the next attack is like, okay, well, like it happened one time where I think some Marines got pulled out, so then like the army that was moved out with happened to be like 3 Viking, like there were no medevacs, and just like they replaced the army with just kind of random haphazard units, and so I was like, well, this is like not at all similar to what the idea was. I think the like obviously there's so many game states and the branch of like universes that get created, where it just things get so not what you expected so quickly, and when you don't have the ability to reason through things or decide what's important to focus on, it just gets so rough.
Yo, what up?
Hey, yes, I'm here to help explain and walk people through the situation that we're currently find ourselves in. So there's a problem with the next game, and so the guys in the back are right now working furiously to furiously to get that fixed. They played the game on the wrong match, so they have to replay it. So we just gotta sit tight, everybody, while the production and the tournament staff work to fix the error. It's a small error. We apologize, everybody who's watching. I know, but we'd rather get it on the right game and rather than cause a more of an existential bracket crisis.
All right. Very well, very well. These games do play, I believe, at 16 times speed.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
it should be maybe okay if that's happening right now.
Yeah, it's been happening
Yeah.
for a while, so
Okay.
you just have to wait for it, just for it to play through. And as soon as we have a game, we'll go right into it. We won't go too much into more preamble, but once the game is ready, but we're here to keep you company for those of you who are out there, and absolutely while we wait.
So it was the matchups that were wrong, like match 3.
No,
and
the
match 4?
matchups are the matchups are correct. It just since
The
it was
map.
new submission. One of the submissions were not. So it was the old submission played.
Oh, okay.
Not
Yeah.
the.
Okay.
Oh, got you. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it was like a different version of the bot, but gotcha.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So it was a different submission, and so we did. It wouldn't be a true.
Yeah,
True
no, that
match.
has to be replayed. Can we jump into match 4, or does that just get real wonky and we want to wait for match 3?
That's a good question. Could we skip ahead? Let me.
I don't want to break anything by suggesting, stuff.
Yeah, it's the same computer that's playing the replay, playing the game.
No, they're separate.
No?
We have separate versions.
Because yeah, we could jump ahead if they are available.
Tell me no if you need to. I have no problems taking a no, but
Well,
If we have-
I'll ask production, and right now production will let us know if it's feasible. If it's feasible, then we'll jump ahead. Those of you in the channel, who do we have for match 4? So I can
T-Bone.
T-Bone and Tier. It's like all of our preamble works the same because
Yeah,
I think
basically.
Tier is gonna try to live off of a T-Bone being aggressive.
Let me double
No, just work.
check if there was if they. I haven't heard from production yet, and oh wait, okay, we just got a game. Okay, so the games are popping out.
Okay.
So we'll I think as soon as the production they got it loaded on the machine, we'll just jump right in and you guys will take over. They're just popping in the replay.
Yeah.
And it will be Caninana versus Zozo. Apologize everybody who's watching. I know you guys have been excited for this, and no one likes when technical difficulty slows down a game, anticipated game. So
Indeed. In the meantime, everyone should type into chat what their favorite Pokemon is.
Oh, what's yours? Could we go around real quick?
Eevee.
Okay, I mean a lot of potential,
Yeah, Eevee can be a lot of things. It's
Kinda beautiful.
almost cheating.
Yeah, kind of lame but kind of beautiful.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with
Vaporeon then. I'll go I'll lock in
Vaporeon's
one.
more
Vaporeon.
specific.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go with Victini. I like Victini.
Wait, Victini?
It's like
Is that a real one?
It's one of a legendary
Oh.
whatever. It's basically got a V in its
They're
head.
cute.
Yeah.
Little like almost like a V guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I gotta go Tyranitar. He's such a cool boy.
Pretty boss.
And I love little Larvitar.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just a cutie.
Good
Good answers, guys. Good answers.
Yeah, so far the chats. I like Psyduck. Psyduck's a
That's
classic.
pretty good. I like Omnite as well. For like a cute
Fossil?
little guy. Yeah, basically. He's like a mollusk or something. And he turns into Amistar.
I
All
was
right,
a big fan of
I've been
Weasel.
told we're ready. So
Okay.
take us
All
away,
right.
please, production.
I mean, we can talk about Pokemon more.
Off right in.
Golden Aura.
Go on to Golden Aura.
Goldeen Aura.
Indeed. That fish. I always kind of wondered, like, given that Pokemon was suing Pal World there for a while, and I guess they still are, but I think they're going to settle because they're not asking for much money. But I'm like, what copyrights do you have? You drew a seal and called it Seal,
Yeah, some of them are pretty weak. Well, it was, for me, it was always when people would talk about like the new Pokemon and be like vanilla ice cone or like they're not even like creative. It's like Pineco was like second gen, dude, and it's a pine cone like with a face.
I know. Yeah, they ran out of ideas super quick. There's just some keys. Let's hop into this and see if
we
it
have
goes.
the game. Screw us. Go.
Caninana. Zozo.
All right, we got some cheese coming.
Do indeed.
We knew
pylon here out at the ramp in a pretty bold location.
it's pretty bold. I think it a little bit further to the left because if you just like know the Overlord's gonna go straight to your natural.
Yeah.
A little scary, but unscouted so far. It is a pool first in Caninana, so a little bit of a build order win from Caninana early game, you know, without any scout.
Get the start of the star there. He still doesn't quite see this yet as the hatch comes down. And we'll get the pylon defending 4-star.
Second probe, a little bit surprising. For a cannon rush, I respect it, 'cause you really need those probes alive and to be still building. But now that this is built, you don't really need to, you don't need to be here.
I think he maybe just brings it as like a safety in case that first one gets caught, harassed.
Yeah, it is your only pylon, so it could go really south if that probe does die. But all gateways will go up, completely unscouted still. Few lings on the way, but a worker's also built, so not like crazy defensive plays so far.
Yeah, and I don't think he's fully recognized it yet, so it may be, come down to how quickly can he adapt. Will he get hung up on this hatchery on the low ground in terms of buying time?
No.
Cancels it immediately. So if he does cancel immediately, starts spines and starts a roach. So that's good. And
Those
only
are
one
great.
zealot went up and the other one came down. The observer is still here. Because we need to look at other things now.
Oh, it made so much sense for the one ling that brought the zealot out of place, but now I would love
stuff's
to.
happening in the main. Okay,
There
there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So things are at least trying to buy time. The spines and more are coming, which is excellent.
Should go
enough
down.
things are moving them around. And there, our first spine and second is up.
God. That queen has like 10 health.
Yeah. So very good job trying to stall that out. And I do love the additional spines coming. We also saw there in the production tab, roaches starting and burrow starting, very important.
Is there also one ling in the in Zozo's base?
I know that it went
Caninana?
past. Yeah, did it end up going anywhere? Not sure.
In the Protoss base, do you know if there's? Not the most. We'll see if this.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't
big
see
group of
anything.
zealots.
There is a unit, at the bottom of the ramp there. I think it is, but
It's not harassing.
getting
It's
up
just
doing much. Yeah.
checking on the natural. I don't think you can ever get a natural though, because I don't think you can bring the spines down. I mean, like I guess if you
I
have,
think you have to get to a mass of
You have to have a
roaches
lot
with
of roaches.
burrows to then take control.
I feel like the first 10 roaches are just gonna burrow immediately, because this is like 10, 15 zealots. Like this is a chunk of zealots.
It is indeed. Yeah, there's still a danger here. Even though there's 4 spines and everything, there's still a danger here for sure.
I just don't know what. Okay, now let's look. At least like they're gonna go for the natural. That should be canceled. Okay. Now, do they? Do they have the numbers where they're not gonna retreat? It looks like they do. I think it'll actually be a move. See if this actually works.
It is a lot.
It is a lot of zealots.
It is a lot, and the other guys, which are attacking, like backing up instead of kind of
spending a little too much time moving.
They're getting the numbers down, and there's a lot of roaches here, and they do have burrows, so that's saving the lives of some of the drones. Is it enough roaches to clean up? It kind of feels like it is. I think that the spines did their job enough.
Yeah, and the zealots have been triggered to retreat. I think the roaches should just be able to push out.
Yeah, if they go after these, I think they're not gonna, because of the burrow. I'm fine with this being a little longer. They don't have to go. Like they're never gonna die.
Yeah.
So you get that point where there's like 3 roaches, and it's like, yeah, you're never gonna die, but you also never clean this up. That's enough to clean it out, and then more will come. So more confident, and this time around they may defend the natural as another poke here comes in.
Do you think without spines, I guess you just don't have the zealot numbers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he'll just be able to burrow each individual one, and like even if they bypass them, they'll just back it out in a second.
And Caninana also is actually building a few workers as well, so is eventually closing the eco lead. Because for a second I was worried, because Caninana wasn't doing anything across the map.
Yeah.
Over time, are you really? I mean, you are getting a lot of roaches, but like, if you have double the zealots, does eventually the zealots kind of are they able to kill your base regardless of how many roaches you have?
Yeah, just by charging.
But it doesn't seem like we'll get to quite that number of zealots. A lot got cleaned up in the fight that took out the spine crawlers. I think this natural is going to go down and cancel it a couple more times, but yeah, like you said, over time, the roaches will never die. So as long as one zealot dies, it just like slowly, and Zozo's not getting hits. So there's no stalkers that are going to save, or no transition. Gates and pylon.
Okay, heading back. 4.
Yeah. Well, it's not gonna quite do it. It looked okay. I think honestly the zealots just got a little too afraid of the spine crawlers.
Yeah, I think there might have been a window that he waited a little too long and there were too many roaches there. Because I think, yeah, there is a point. Spine crawlers are great, but they do need to be defended. If you start getting like 4 zealots per spine crawler, they're still going down. And we saw that they did kind of get pulled through, but it was just enough that like 7 roaches on the edge, plus the queens and other stuff, like plus just the burrow. He didn't. If there was no burrow there, the drones would have died.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So.
Burrow definitely is huge, and just like in this long game of trades, like if Caninana, if Zozo gets a lot more Caninana drone kills, and then has an eco, and then plays this really long out, trade game, and you don't have the guarantee of just burrowing your roaches to save every single one of them always, I think this game is very, very different. Also, like once the spines are up, even if you give respect to the spine, you don't have to like leave the base always, and there's sometimes a building, outside of it, or like the queen, if it's a target that's about to die, maybe some sort of, at least consideration for that kind of, because it was like, the queen was like about to die, and then when that lives, it gets some larva, it gets to heal up. So these are just kind of snowballs a lot. But yeah, at this point, Caninana has 3 base, and Zozo's still not getting gas. It will be cleaned up. It'll just take a minute.
Yeah, here's the creep start to advance fast. Just walk forward and shut this down.
I mean, if the builds are mimic next game, it would go Zozo's way, I think. I don't think this was like...
Yeah.
I think, honestly, Caninana did do the best of, like, there was the most clear timer. Well, like, kind of how we were talking about, like, you kind of have to set up a timer where it's like, all right, if these go up, my win condition's met. And roaches, burrow, and spines are, like, 3 freaking phenomenal conditions to counter a flower build.
Yeah, exactly.
So Zozo will definitely be on a timer. We just have to see if Zozo kind of does more damage in that amount of time. He's able to get more done. Definitely cannot retreat and give Caninana time, because that is exactly what Caninana is do. Is to get stronger over time and survive for another minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think he got baited out. When the first 2 zealots were ready, only one went up. The other one got baited down by a ling. Back right there. End up that you either kill the queen, or you kill those couple of lings, or you get a couple of drones.
More drones,
the burrows done. So that makes just a big swing.
Yeah, everything's just so snowbally. Like early game, like StarCraft's already that way, and army versus army is already that way, where you lose damage once you lose units, and it just kind of stacks. But early on, it's just like such, especially honestly as Zerg, because queens carry so much weight in the early game of doing, of spreading the creep, of getting the larva, you know, kind of defending against everything. Yeah, getting like an early queen kill and getting a couple early drones where, yeah, they would have been mining minerals for their entire lives. Stuff just really adds up really quickly if you can get the damage done. So yeah, well, hopefully Zozo will be able to get those zealots a little more synchronized, get them in there together, and get a little more damage done. But Caninana looking very, very stable, and the response just looks very strong. Yeah,
right decisions, like the moment that he knew that this was the attack, just immediately to crack things. Yeah, see if we get that again.
I kind of like it's almost reminiscent of I think Cyril was playing like a 12 pool that like wasn't an all-in. It was like a very like macro-oriented 12 pool to like, you know, if they didn't have like a good wall, or like your opponent played a little greedy, you could be a little bit, you know, annoying. And then also if your opponent went super cheesy, you were like fine to just go into a really easy defense. I feel like that's kind of what Caninana did, was, you know, a really early pool, but like only 2 or 4 lings until the next stage in its decision making, you know, was reached. Or like, you know, I guess the idea of going early pool and then building a drone after the pool finishes, that alone is like, okay, obviously this is not an all-in pool first. This is like a very macro, keep myself safe, push the punches off, and then I'm gonna have a great macro and killer late game.
Yeah, very true. Versatile one. And so I think we are jumping into game number 2, assuming that we have played it. And let's see what happens. Not ready. Okay. So we are not right away.
Hopefully
but,
it started a little late, because if it's 16 times speed,
yeah, exactly. May get something long.
Could be a doozy.
Yeah, indeed. I think, yeah, I mean, probably they're done in transferring it over. Okay, we're good now?
Easy.
Okay. Hop in now.
Caninana. Zozo. Zozo.
Oh, we thought the last pylon was aggressive.
Yeah.
I kind of.
This one a little bit more so.
I kind of love it if it gets up. Oh, and the second pylon or the drone pull is actually really, really smart. I like that a lot. And this is where the 2 drones or 2 probes make a lot of sense. You cannot. Oh. All right. This might be a fast one.
Yeah, big reaction here, but I don't know what the. Yeah, like what was he really trying to do?
Go back, the probe back in.
Yeah. Okay, some more pylons.
Oh, they brought another
cool.
probe. Okay.
Okay.
Start.
Yeah. Right in your face. He's not gonna get that down.
So I think one big thing that would improve this a lot would, I don't know how easy it is to like be sure that a building is going to go down without placing it, but placing the building so early is just so rough if you're actually dealing with like workers and probes being around. Like you kind of have to move to the spot and then build, because you also slow down if you like place the building before you're actually there. So like,
yeah,
because the mineral walking and like the first pylon and 2 kind of looked pretty good. But yeah, like that like you can just never, I don't know, not move command when you're moving across that many drones, or else you're just gonna eat 5 damage times, 6 drones or whatever you're passing over. So we're gonna go into a Nexus first. Technically, I mean, no
Yeah.
gateway or forge down.
And he's obviously cost a lot of like mining time and stuff. But was it 600 minerals worth of mining time? And Zozo's just gonna,
I mean,
like
Zozo
his
does,
supply block even, because that was the only pylon.
or I mean, if Caninana doesn't build like Lings, he's building 2, but like if he doesn't get over there, Zozo does have a lot of money. Where if they're able to spend that and then actually like use what they spent it on, like that Nexus is actually able to generate minerals and build workers, maybe. I think obviously like a human, Lings are already over there.
Yeah.
But Caninana was pretty slow to move out last game. It was a very different situation. But even when the Ling got into Zozo's base, when there was only one, it was strictly scouting. It didn't even seem like it was trying to
Yeah,
go
it
for
wasn't
those
doing anything.
work or harass. So if Caninana, if the idea is to get into the late game and just take the early blow, maybe there is no early mid-game push coming. And maybe Zozo's able to use these 800 minerals. Where did the 800 minerals go?
Yeah, instantly into gateways and
Oh, I guess
Yeah,
they could all
yeah.
be put to building but not actually built yet, and then
yeah,
was distracted
there you
by
see it again.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I was like,
Another-
I swear he just had like almost a K of minerals, and I see like a gateway in production.
Yeah, we just this the hologram tax.
Alright,
So with Burrow coming, he's got a. This is always you need detection, because burrowed roaches are just deadly if that ends up coming later.
yeah, but I am glad that Zozo is going that route. Last game there was no gas taken at all, and so I was a little worried even if the rush failed that Zozo would still default to like one base all inning basically.
So there is a rowboat that's promising.
Very lucky. I guess maybe just a lot of Zergs like to build Burrow in the bot community. Pretty easily abused ability, so could just be expecting kind of, if you're going to go into late game against Zerg, make sure you have some detection.
A stalkers out will hopefully clear up this thing that is getting information.
Worker count a little bit in
Still being
Zozo's favor. Man, and they triple expanded pretty early, relative to the state of the game.
Battery coming down, and all of a sudden Zozo's just back
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Kind of Sharkbot-esque of like, all right, well, this is actually what I wanted to do. I thought this was not where this was where like the opponent wanted to take you, but this looks like a way better game than the last game for Zozo.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll get to see Caninana maybe get up to the point of using like the spellcaster for making units, things like that. Zozo actually rebuilding, building a forge on his side as well. A bit defensive. So then you kind of wonder, is by any chance there's a warp prism? I want to see that.
Yeah,
Do
100%
something.
out. I'm also curious. There are a lot of Stalker building, and I feel like the Protoss equivalent of Burrow, kind of Blink Stalker.
Yeah.
It's just like a
Blink.
thing where it's like, if you're perfect, Blink seems really, really good. And I'm very surprised that like 8 or 9 Stalkers have been produced, and the Twilight Council is nowhere to be seen, especially with the gateway. Or not with the gateway, with the forge. Because in my head a little bit, any kind of upgrades feel gateway heavy. Like if you're gonna go
Yeah.
crazy, like Immortal, Disruptor, upgrades just don't feel quite as good as if you're going 8 gate, Stalker, Zealot, a lot of units, man. So yeah, the lack of Twilight is just really surprising, because this is almost like a hostile gateway man, like a PvT almost, where it's like expand, 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 stay on gateway units, and just fight with like numbers and not tech.
We got the warp prism blink.
Yeah.
But with speed links, this kind of runs out of capacity.
And only 4 slots. Yeah, it's just, and especially when you take that kind of fight and you can blink across the entire, there's no like ground to actually cover the blinks.
Yeah.
It just feels so strong, so it's rough to lose that many stalkers in not a clean way. And yeah, just if you're going this gateway style, you gotta get the gateway up. You know, like it
Yeah.
makes him so much better.
He's losing too much during this. It's a little too cute
Yeah.
running. You eventually get into full retreat situation. You're like, okay, well, the work. So,
Yeah, I was just saying,
what do you
especially
want
when
now?
there are like 6 stalkers trying to get away, it's like one of them is always surrounded, and you're just trading off who's being surrounded, and no one's gonna get saved. Yeah, that's definitely one of those, like, the numbers matter a lot, where if it's 2 stalkers and 5 lings or 7 lings, like, sure, play that game and be annoying. But if you got 30 lings, it doesn't matter how many stalkers you have, it's just like a losing situation.
Yeah, there's also the point too where eventually your grouping up actually works in your favor, but by you blinking and spreading and splitting, the lings like that.
You have full surface area on every single stalker rather than the bottom left of one stalker. And well, and it seems weird that like no other units have been shown. So Zozo hasn't seen roaches or anything, and it seems like they're building a strictly roach army.
Yeah, it's
like this is like this has no zealot or no ling counter at all. You know, they usually have an oracle, or you have some zealots, or you have archons, or if you're going into robo, I guess you can get into closet. You know, it takes a little while, but to just have no like anti-zealot or anti-ling against a full ling army just seems and to be on the map.
One stalker stuck in.
Oh, from bringing Warp Prism Micro. Yeah, like Immortals are so terrible with you in just like unit composition wise.
Yeah, now they're the priority thing you have to pick up. They double the space.
Links can get there, at least.
one at a time. That's the guy in
Probably
the best position.
Spot, yeah. Yeah, army composition just very lack. The actual like economic state that Zozo was in was awesome.
Yeah,
like Zozo actually had a terrible start and ended up being in a very reasonable position, worker-wise and expand-wise. But one of the worst comps you can go against. You know, there's just like nothing that is the Ling counter, and Immortals are specifically probably the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stalkers are just not the support unit that is gonna make it make sense here.
Want here at all, and they're just now researching their own blink, which is nice. Given the heavy commitment to this, like that done much earlier, like the Warp Prism is a nice try, but given that you're going to make 16 of these things, the Warp Prism is woefully insufficient.
Yeah, and some of the beauty of a bot is that you don't have to be looking at the same spot as you're acting. Where obviously you don't have to be looking at the Warp Prism, but the Warp Prism has to be wherever you're trying to quote unquote. So like you can't have 2 forces. You can't have one force go up one hill and one go down. Like there's no separation, or else you just lose. Like you lose so much.
Yeah, and you can see too the Warp Prism, despite its best good intentions, was just dropping stalkers in the lanes.
Yeah.
Like very much so.
At a certain point, it's rough. Now, what I would love to see, Archon Warp Prism, and being this annoying with it would freaking destroy these Ling Swarms. And maybe get 2 prisms, get 3 prisms, and have 4 to 6 Archons all being looped around, and they don't have their own ability to play. Like that makes so much more sense, and is such a more robust kind of army comp / like. It makes more sense of the Warp Prism being that supporter unit. But yeah, the fake blink on units that can get blink, or it's just kind of worse in every way, it doesn't feel good. And if you're going Twilight Council, you can go ahead and get Charge, you can go ahead and get Arc. There's just so much more play you can get into, especially if you're going to go Gateway Man, which is what Zozo eventually got into. It was weird with the Robo so early, But even with the Robo early, it was like 3 gates at a time and just still seemed very tier 1 unit kind of.
Yeah, for sure. Still, despite like the actual outcome of this and how it was kind of an inappropriate strategy against what he was facing, I think it should be pointed out Zozo transitioned from a Pro Brush bot to a Zealot bot to a 4-base Warp Prism Blink Stalker Microbot in
Yeah, that's fair.
like overnight, right? And we haven't really seen this before, so it's such an ambitious change. And like, yeah, you ran into a hard countered strategy of the thing, but it's good. Like that would work against a lot of people in a lot of time.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
and like there are some parts of it that worked really well.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like throw out the baby with the bathwater or whatever. You know, it's like a lot of this is great because I think that's why it was so disappointing is because it looked so good when I thought it was going to be so pointless. Like I thought this match was so over, and then it was all of a sudden
Yeah,
like
it was like, oh,
Zozo
okay.
triple expanded, and like if Caninana doesn't do something, Zozo's actually like super fine. And then it kind of went back where it's like, okay, this isn't Zozo's, you know, specific cup of tea or whatever. But I think because it looked so good, I was like, I was sold too much hope. But it is the fact that Zozo was pro brushing not too long ago, you know, flower rushing last game, and now is going into 4 bases. A lot of respect, a lot of you know, that is Zozo looked good.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff looked good. I don't mean to paint it all as
indeed.
as bad.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And I mean, now we're going to see Zozo go into the consolation match, and Caninana will advance from this group, but Zozo is not done yet. We will get another Zozo match next week. Still has a chance to get out here. But we will move on to our last match of the night, match number 4, which is going to be T-Bone versus Tier, a TBT coming up. A
In
lot
name
of
and
T's
race,
just all
yeah.
over the place. Yeah.
A high T
pretty
match,
Yeah,
if you will.
indeed. And that one should be interesting. So you were looking at the notes of Tier earlier, or
Yeah,
updates?
this does seem like a similar to Sharkbot. Hopefully, it doesn't end the way Sharkbots did. But under updates, T-Bone does have, or Tier specifically has a T-Bone section. So they have a new build has been created, which aims to play slow and defensive. So similar to kind of Caninana, what I'm expecting. This build is intended to absorb the initial attack from T-Bone and then take advantage of T-Bone's lack of late game capabilities. Testing on the latter showed that an older Banshee build had some success, so this has also been enabled. So both ways, it feels like one is absorb and then harass, kind of, and you know, not like all in, but be annoying, and then the other is absorb and wait till you have a death ball, is kind of how I'm reading it. But both, I think the important thing is that early game, the goal is not to do damage, it is to stop whatever damage is trying to be done to you. So as long as T-Bone tries to do damage and Tier successfully stops it, should be a very successful game for Tier. You know, just theory-wise, RPS-wise, that seems like how it should go. So we'll see if either T-Bone is able to do damage and Tier doesn't have as robust defense as, you know, they think they do, or if T-Bone throws out a different strat, kind of like Zozo kind of did this game, where it ends up macroing itself and getting into a weird game that maybe a Tier planned a little bit wrong, and that could kind of bite him in the butt.
Yeah. Yes, quite true, I think. Yeah, we'll see how they go out. The contrast to of Tier compared to some of our other bots, Tier has 101,000 lines of code.
Not
compared
going for the
to-
shortest.
Yeah, not going for the shortest stuff. Do we have the stats or preview on these guys? I don't
So
know
I
if
don't know if the
everything
next
just
game's ready or
froze.
if it's-
Nothing
yeah.
else came up, so so we're just faking it till we make it here. On whether or not we're eventually gonna be ready for this stuff. But not sure. Not
I think
sure.
they've at least played.
I think we've
Don't
been
worry about that.
abandoned. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Deal.
Give or
So-
take, give or take.
So Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you play any of Pal World?
I
No, it was fun. I played for a bit longer than I thought I would. I think I probably played like 40, 50 hours of it, something like that.
Okay.
But it's a nice little base builder. It like has the look, obviously, of Pokemon and that general mechanic, but not really. Like it's just kind of nonsense. But it was the base building part that was kind of cool, that you could put your Pokemon to work, basically.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
Yeah, that seemed like the fun part. So here we go. T-Bone strategy versus Terran and Protoss is a 2-base stim timing all in. And versus Zerg, which will not matter, would be early Reaper harass. So we're going to see potentially that sort of timing come up. And weaknesses are going to be when the bot moves out to attack, has no tactics for combat. I remember reading this before, just no tactics at all. Needs to overwhelm with the size of the army. It's a future task to make the tactics. Don't worry about it. So employs some utility AI to try and optimize decision making, specifically with early Reaper harass, which I think was more the Zerg focused thing. And he's attempting to build a fairly robust early Reaper harassment. T-Bone attempts to preposition some units at Reaper jumps, reposition some units at Reaper jumps, and also splits up defending Marines. And yeah, tries to cut off fast. Very Reaper focused, but I don't think that's what we're going to get, but possible. Tier tends to go into, like, in past games, into like the more stable, like Thor type stuff, but we'll see this time around what that'll be. On tier side, try to anticipate the enemy strategy and adapt to it. Definitely seems to be the case, and seems to be what he's tried to do with the updates that we've got. Weakness, some types of early aggression, but again, a lot of what's been built in is designed to be slow and defensive at the beginning, to adapt to what T-Bone's trying to do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Both bots that were like, I'm going to try to defend early, both have the weaknesses as the early, like,
yeah.
They're what they're focusing on,
For sure. Yeah, Special so has its own build. So tier has tons of builds built in. 900 something builds are in or 176 builds that have been like internally tested a whole bunch of times. Yeah, and has always had a framework of where he can just throw a new build in a week, like without much problem. So yeah, the framework there has been adaptive. And yeah, here 101,000 lines of code, 176 builds, and 53 of them are Terran. So we have the Terran version, but tier was originally in the tournament as Protoss for like 10 seasons, and then has switched to Terran. But the author makes all three. Indeed. Yeah, so trophy in the ProBots 2023 side-loaded season was where we did kind of an adapted format. But yeah, curious here. Tier has kind of the experience and adaptability generally in the builds. I think too, when he refers to not adapting as well to opponents, that's more in the game itself. The author and the team that now makes it, they adapt the builds ahead of time is the point. But it's not that it changes in the game very well, but that they are trying to make things that are designed for it out of the gate, so that they don't have to. So we'll see how well they did that this time around. And I think we were ready for game number 1. Let's see if it loads.
Tier.
All right. We've got an early scout from Tier in T-Bone's base, and looks like T-Bone's gonna have an early scout in Tier's base as well. You're going for that early Reaper, and T-Bone playing a little greedy, going Reactor first without any unit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess see how that works out, especially that he talked a lot about like kind of Reapers and cutting them off, being concerned about Reapers, to then just kind of skip your first unit and go longer there is a little bit of a risk, but seems to think that he can play this out safely, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, if you go, okay, it is double Marine. I was gonna say, if you went double Reaper and you kind of get the jump on the first Reaper that comes across, you know, that could be kind of a big swing of momentum where then you can go kind of annoy the other side. But it is just gonna be Marines, so it's gonna be that that prepositioning that of the Marines around the Reaper jump up spots. So I think if you're on the high ground, you should be okay here as T-Bone. Trying to harass that. Yeah, the Reaper gets taken out immediately. A really good positioning.
Works out.
T-Bone.
Yeah, works out for him there. I also like the positioning of the buildings here, where it doesn't totally block, but like means you have to go around them.
Yeah, it's like annoying.
Escape. Yeah.
Yeah, Sim Cities can play a big part of the game early on, sometimes late, when you're like trying to get back into your base, or you know, a Liberator comes in and you have to chase it with your Marines, and you're like, why did I make this
Yeah,
so
exactly.
complicated? But yeah, with just that first interaction, T-Bone getting a pretty significant lead, I would say, in like the build order wise. Does have a slightly slower factory, I think, but much faster Marine base and a much faster natural. Yeah, kind of getting into everything pretty fast, which could mean that the tier-based timing hits pretty hard. The only thing that like almost sucks that T-Bone so far ahead of tier is I was hoping, because tier talked a lot about like kind of defending early cheese, but a 2-base timing's almost like kind of after that point of the game. And so if it hits where like tier's trying to take a third, I think that's like the most ideal, perfect scenario is tier's moving out to take a third and T-Bone's moving across the map, you know?
Yeah.
So if T-Bone's almost like too quick to attack and tier hasn't tried to move out of his natural, I think going up that hill could be very rough.
Yeah, quite detrimental. Yeah.
Depending on how many tanks are set up and what the actual vision looks like. But I think if T-Bone can, if it takes long enough for tier feels safe to take the third, that is where like everything could fall apart and T-Bone could get a really good jump. Maybe tier's unsieged in the middle of like the low ground where it's not on the high ground on either side. Could be huge. So I just really want to see where tier is when T-Bone's actually ready to attack.
Yeah, definitely. Whether you go into your opponent in their kind of static setup position or not, whether you meet in the middle of the map, yeah, how exposed you are. We always see from map to map the ramp locations compared to the natural make a huge difference. And just the timing of like what it is you're trying to hit. Like, so yeah, here is moving out a little bit here with the third gate coming out.
Seems
See how that does.
seems like the opposite of what Tier said that he was trying to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
And could be awful if you're taking a third base and attacking into someone who's planning on doing a 2-base attack. Could be one of like the worst like blindfolded scenarios that you get yourself in. You know, it's like on paper they have more army because they have defender's advantage. They're also planning on attacking and not expanding, so they have more army. There's just, it's rough in a couple of different ways. So we'll see if Tier loses too much from this, and then T-Bone triggers his 2-base timing. This could be a
Yeah, I
huge
wonder
swing.
if this is at all intended as a campaign as opposed to an attack, or anything like that. Just kind of like siege up this low V, like you're kind of at that low ground crossroads, which can be definitely dangerous, but it can also contain. There is stuff swinging in on the bottom right there, or the bottom left. Yeah, okay, so he's triggered some sort of walk forward, which turned out to be quite
This is the lack of what is it, combat skills or whatever,
Yeah,
however
yeah.
T-Bone says it.
Yeah, the Marines are just dancing on the edge of that tank range and occasionally walking into it when vision is there.
Yeah, I feel like T-Bone's Viking could be putting in some work right now, trying to bait out those Marines and just trying to get some Raven shots in, because there's no other Viking, you know, like the anti-air
Yeah, a
is
little
just
too
not
passive,
there.
and there's multiple there.
Yeah.
Could easily. Okay, here's the tank blasts on the Marines as they come down the choke. Now the Marines are
We'll get on
cleared up.
top of it.
Get on top. Taking big hits, but this will get cleaned up. Yeah, it will be enough to clean it up. It loses a lot of Marines for that, but everything in the air is still alive.
Tier 1 up to 3 bases, so that should start paying for itself pretty soon here. So I don't know. I feel like you have to group up a little bit with the T-Bone, but you also can't wait too long, because you are going to be at an economic disadvantage very soon, if not already.
The worry is that, like 7 Marines coming with this may not be enough. Like there's nothing to buff tanks. A lot. Okay, Vikings landing is a choice. See how that goes. Back up in the air as he sees enemies.
The flank is almost nice.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like planned or just kind of worked out that way because of the shape. But he does, end up with a really good position here.
Yeah, really takes over the third, and the tanks are already set on that low ground, so kind of an opposite situation where T-Bone getting a sort of pain on here.
Cleans it up. Yeah, the Marines definitely coming in flanking. They're pretty big there.
Tanks are sieging, so this is the time to jump on it if you can.
One up front before the second is ready, and it's half dead before it sieges up.
The timing of the sieges are so rough, and honestly really good. I feel like in that spot, a lot of Marines would run away.
Yeah.
And kind of do the, I individually cannot fight you, so I shouldn't take this fight.
Yeah.
But luckily, they just kept pushing forward, and each tank that was able to take like one shot got taken out right before that shot. And like even there, like on the high ground, so many Marines have trouble like
realizing
taking that ground.
situation.
Yeah. But these Marines are looking awesome, and T-Bone takes, I feel like Tier's build was not what they said they were going to do. I feel like it was a very odd build from Tier, but looked very back and forth, and T-Bone's combat looks, they said they don't have any, combat skills or combat awareness or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I like how the Marines jumped on stuff.
And I think that may be it. If there's no like tactic, quote unquote, the tactic is just always move forward.
Shoot, yeah,
And
go.
so, and that's one thing that's actually noticeable here too, is it's not just shoot at max range. They were stutter stepping forward towards their targets, which means they didn't get stuck in a ramp. They didn't get like trapped behind.
30 of them aren't
lines.
walking behind you trying to shoot. Yeah.
And you even saw in the initial engagement on their side when they came down, like they ran directly into the tanks.
Yeah, and they almost
closed
get
the rank.
underneath them where they can't get attacked. Yeah.
And that's so key, and a lot of armies just don't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the two, like, they're the two, like, perfect ideals, is like, never get hit, and then the other side's like, always be able to hit them, like, always be pushing forward and not letting them retreat. And so by kind of completely ignoring one half of that perfect equation and only focusing on go, attack, actually works a lot better than a lot of these people who are focusing on don't die and be afraid, because that just, it doesn't, you don't get those kill shots. You don't get that, you smell blood in the water and you're going to go for the kill. And T-Bone's units kind of do have that killer instinct, which, I mean, if the calculation is like they're gonna die and they still run in, like it could look really bad for sure. But when it's right, nothing sucks more when you have enough units and they're too afraid. Like I'll lose the ones where I'm gonna lose anyway, but don't lose because you're running away or you're too afraid to do it. So I kind of like T-Bone's way of going about it.
Yeah, definitely. It worked out well there. Yeah, I'm curious to see here on game number 2. We're about to hop in. Is Tier gonna be defensive, like you said, or are we gonna get a repeat with that T-Bone can jump on here? Let's hop in and find out. Okay, we just lost our
Observer.
lost our
Today's a
observer,
day.
so we'll stall for little bit longer. But yeah, I think obviously in a TVT, like the tank positioning on some of these fights initially, like is the huge key to it. You saw there as he was moving into the natural, it was probably over by then, but having 3 tanks in a row not properly sieged while
all
a
like
bunch of Marines
sieging and like it was like yeah.
one moving down a ramp, 2 of them that had unsieged out of sync that were
And it's kind of like the spine crawler thing of like it's just like knowing what you're playing around and what you need to play around, and like setting those things up, setting up those win conditions of like, well, if I have 3 tanks and I have some SCVs repairing them and I slow them down, they're not running up this ramp.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, those 3 tanks were.
And T-Bone's sieges on his side, like he had really good timing of when to leapfrog up. He didn't do these micro adjusts that we see where someone tries to move 5 feet. Like he settled on the low ground. He let the Marines kill the 3rd base while he still sieged to defend that position. And then like he just didn't move in that time. A lot of them would have unsieged to come up to kill the CC, then gone back down and done this and done that. But he just stayed there. And it was the right positioning.
Yeah, I feel like it makes me think of when we were talking about just, what the bots are only seeing what's happening right in front of them, and they don't have the like, the Marines are probably still there. They just walked a little bit away, and I feel like the unsieging of tanks is such an important part of the game. Where if it is like as soon as you don't see a threat, you unsiege or you resiege, and it's just way too fickle, and it just so much has happened so fast that like. The trigger to unsiege has to be a lot harder to trigger.
Exactly.
Than just like
you have
someone shot over there, or one thing happens and it's like, oh, move it.
Yeah, you almost have to code in inertia in a sense.
Yeah.
Like unless I have a strong reason to move, I will stay.
Or like you think you're gonna move, wait 10 seconds, and if you still want to move, then like
then
initiate it. Exactly. But like you cannot make it a split-second decision. And just go on and off because the unsiege
that's how they train the tank commanders. It's like, I know you're angry now. Take a deep breath. Count to 10.
Count to 10.
And if you still want to leapfrog forward,
we'll
be my guest.
Then it's all you.
Yeah.
But things might change. The situation that you see might be a little different in 10 seconds. Yeah. I know you're scared.
Very, very true indeed. Still waiting for the observer to reconnect here. That's why time keeps getting added. Not sure what the situation is, but we'll find out soon. If he does, it'll happen. Despite all the delays tonight, because a lot of the games have been short, it's still not that late.
Well, the winter side has been cheese city.
Yeah.
It's like every bot is like, all right, this guy's gonna cheese and this guy's gonna defend the cheese.
Yeah.
If the cheese is good, it's gonna win. If the cheese isn't good and the defense is good, the defender's gonna win.
Yeah. Indeed.
And that's been like basically our talk every time, and it's like every race is doing it. Like it's not one race or one specific strategy. It's just like every matchup is.
Yeah, it feels like that's just the direction our meta has gone, and it's over the years has gone back and forth. And like whether you get a deep defending macro game or whether you get the cheesy openings, like that's just kind of the shift that's been made. It's never really settled on something like. In the human game, stuff like 2 base timings have been like in a meta for a long time, or like
or like the void race stuff,
stuff like that. We've never really settled on something like that. It's always been either really quick or really long, and there hasn't been a stable. Like obviously, you've got mid-sized games, but there hasn't been a stable period of that.
It's not like 3 bots look similar. Like their builds look similar. It's like they're all doing kind of their own version of like cheese or defense. Very all unique strats. And
and I think a lot of it is because you can easily with bots stall out, distract, do something like it doesn't play out in a crisp way. I think that's one of the big things with a timing attack. Timing attacks are by nature crisp. Everything has to line up. These bots really struggle with that concept. That's just not an area they excel. So that's not where you see it. Hey, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, we're just we're having technical difficulties on our end with our observer. So that's what we're waiting on. So once he's back, we'll be back into the game. Oh, which speaking of,
Maybe.
but
I'm sorry, I
now,
cursed you, Drekken.
right? Well,
He said all the fires are gone. I said you don't want all the fires to be gone.
all right. I actually blame Yoshi. Like,
Today's been like
this is like
the most
100%
fire
like,
days.
all right, bye.
All right, we're ready to go in.
All right, bye, Drekken.
So let's hop in right now for what may be the last match of the night. We'll see.
Go T-Bone.
All right, we'll wait for the timer to go down, but we'll go in as soon as we can.
T-Bone. Tier.
USCV scouts like last game, which I always feel like if I don't play much Terran, but if I SCV scout, I'm not building a Reaper. And if I'm building a Reaper, I'm not SCV scouting. I'm keeping those minerals and like I'm scouting one way or the other.
Yeah.
These guys both love their SCV scouts. Looks like we're gonna go reactor first again from T-Bone and another really fast natural.
Yeah, which I think seems to work out. It's good enough to hold when this Reaper comes across. One of the things too is because of the scout, the Reaper, you kind of know the timing of it. You may even delay it a little bit because it will run to try and kill this SCV and ultimately keeps that alive anyway.
Yeah, and I think this happened last game too, where that 5 health SCV gets to scout the timing of the natural.
Yeah.
I think maybe tries to harass the worker as well, but really nice to honestly keep it alive. And then the 2 Marines are right by the ramp. We lose Magnet again.
Uh-oh. Nope.
No. Okay. Right. They got the Reaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is very Art Deco to me too. Again, reminds me of BioShock. Just the pattern by the ramp is weird.
Oh, weird. But yeah, T-Bone talked about his anti-Reaper positioning and stuff, and if they always go reactor first into Marine, it actually makes like a ton of sense to be really careful with Reapers, because Reapers could just pull this apart. Like we've been saying all night, the snowballing stuff, like Reaper versus Marine can just look so ugly. It can look like Stalker versus Marine, where like pre-stim it's just a brutal fight fest. But T-Bone really taking advantage of high ground vision and actually understanding where the Reaper jump up spots are. Makes it so the Reaper doesn't really get a chance to play that fighting game. Which also, if T-Bone or if Tier's Reaper went to the natural first, the game would actually also be so different, because you get a natural denial, and then if the Marines actually come down and you don't have to fight up high ground vision, and you don't have to like take shots before actually getting a shot off, I feel like that just changes a lot of this early game.
Yeah, definitely. The dynamic is different then. I think the biggest thing we're kind of gonna end up looking for here, two big things. One is the timing of if he decides to push out, and then also the effect of not having a ramp in this situation is going to make a difference. In some ways better, some ways worse. When it was ultimately T-Bone that came down, T-Bone having to come down a ramp more clump took out a lot more Marines from his side than otherwise would have happened if you were both flat.
Like Tier's contain was better, you're saying?
Yeah. Tier's contain was better at the bottom of choke points.
Yeah.
Whereas now it won't be. Assuming
if he comes out again. Going into big Marine production. Definitely staying on that 2 base and just gonna be pumping them from here on out. I think it's like 3 medevacs ish is when
Yeah.
T-Bone kind of like starts to move out. I think they're the first one coming. I think it's gonna be three medevacs and 1 Viking. So I think you got the reactor on that starport.
Here on his side, he's already up to the 3 tanks that was the initial move out prior. So apparently will not be the same as we
Good.
get a look at our cool logo.
In my opinion. Oh well. Say good, and
There,
then
he's-
he goes.
He's moving. Is he moving across, or is this just to secure the 3rd move?
Look a little far. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Once you go down the ramp, it's like And the 2 Ravens is so interesting because he doesn't really wait too long for them to get energy. Like it's almost just for the vision, which you'd think you'd want Vikings. Is don't go into the tech lab if you're, I don't know, if you're not going the Ketrock route, or at least like sending them into the mineral line to get like auto turrets there or something. I feel like the Viking or the medevac is just preferred in this situation, kind of.
This is a nice arc. There. He now cannot. Do not go past these little triangles.
Do not collect
That's it.
$100.
Yeah. And again, the Vikings of T-Bone could be more aggressive here and just kind of
Yeah.
take shots at the Ravens. And
Especially with the annoying like
Yeah.
high ground weird spot. Yeah, right, right there where you can just kind of poke in and poke out, and the Marines will have a hell of a time
about
trying
it.
to get you.
you'll probably end up baiting some Marines into taking a step too far.
Yeah. That tank line is terrifying. Where I think last game there were like 3 tanks, and like maybe a 4th was coming. Now there are 5 set up, where I don't think you can. Like Marines cannot run into.
Yeah,
this
that's
zone.
brutal. Yeah, that's brutal. What we're about to see. This is basically what will happen. And
That
it
does
does
too much.
take out his Marines, but there's just nothing left to deal with on them. They are still coming this time around.
The Viking
Marine.
the land, but even like the length of this tank line, the
Yeah.
bottom tank can cover the top tank. So it's just like there
Yeah,
is no
there's a
getting on
sixth.
top of it.
6 will go forward. Now I like this on
Yeah.
2 back or go forward. Now we're gonna get aggressive
I like these ones to siege
and not
up, like,
sieging it. Now I kind of do. I think that initial decision to focus fire. Now go for it.
not get jumped on or something. Yeah. I'd love to see honestly 2 sieging and then 2 stay on siege and just
Yeah.
kind of slowly Venn diagram this whole place up.
Sure. Killing a ton of workers here. The Marauder getting on 1 tank, 3 in the back siege every time. SCV's attacking pretty effective here.
Yeah.
And there's just no Marines with this. Like there's 1. But yeah, they've got the auto turrets play a big
Comes
role.
huge now. Yeah. But again, it's like when you first come out, those Ravens are like they just don't have any energy. Like it's just such a
Yeah.
weird move out unit to not save up and harass or something. But right there, I mean, there was a T-Bone tank and a tier tank both siege, and the T-Bone tank started firing at an auto turret, and it's just like, oh well, that's brutal.
Hugely destructive here, and it definitely seems like we're going to get a game 3 here in the last match tonight. As he's just, completely broken through, down to 23 workers. This base is going to be gone. Not much in the way of army joining. There's a single medevac out on the map. See it floating in the middle of the mini map, but not doing anything.
Yeah. Tiers on their 4th
Just
base,
looking
and
after that dog. He's just picking the dog.
this dog gets injured, I am feeling it immediately.
Yeah, so the flat ground here, so a couple things. Moving it a little later with more tanks, just 1 more, but then the flat ground, and just this tank line. Yeah, that
Yeah,
got
what's-
completely walked voluntarily.
The flat line or the flat land may also have helped with that layout where sometimes the hills kind of get in the way of actually sieging tanks and what you're allowed to kind of go on and how you want to set everything up. But that one, it was like the circles were like as overlapping as like that range of tanks. So yeah, Marines can kind of fight through like 4 tanks if you get on them really fast, but like 5, 6 tanks, there's just And Tier didn't lose their Marines before T-Bone pushed down.
Right.
Where last game
there
was
was
kinda
only
like,
the
I'm gonna
one
kill all your
blast.
Marines, and then I'm gonna push all my Marines in.
Yeah.
This one, the Marines actually got to tank for the tanks, and Tier just, yeah, it was like untouched.
Yeah. Better execution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
similar.
the auto turret energy was just
Yeah, like right here is what I was talking about. Where if that
yeah.
T-Bone tank fires at the tiered tank, I think
Yeah.
he win. You know, like he gets sieged up first and stuff, and has more health, but taking the fire away from the other tanks, and yeah, the Ravens end up being really good at that time. But it is just such a later hit, because even when those 3 tanks were there the first time, like if T-Bone moved out immediately, Tier does not look good.
No.
Like there's only once
yeah.
Tier had the 6 tanks, and the Ravens have some energy where that contain makes any sense. Which then it's like, why are you over there? Or just take your
Yeah.
third, protect your third, and then go over there and go crazy. But it's worked out one of 2 games. We'll
Yeah.
see if it's a similar game.
Yeah. So
What
let's
the
hop
ramp
into
looks
the
like.
third. And yeah, see how it goes, see how it plays, see if it's slightly different.
T-Bone. Tier.
I think everything's looking pretty similar so far.
See, going across for a peek.
You're going a little more tech heavy with the fast gas. They usually go straight into the factory, where T-Bone goes into that reactor, marine, and gets the natural decent amount of here.
It feels like Gear kind of controls the flow of things. It's deciding when to move out and that this game, or what adjustments are made. A few seconds popping out.
Reaper factory on tier, and like I said, reactor, and the natural CC built in location for T-Bone. Factory.
Yeah, and T-Bone, there was always a question of now that he lost, would it change the build at all? It doesn't appear that that'll be the case. He's kind of got this coded in.
So Reaper does get the kill this time. A little different, but yeah. That's brutal. Every game has started with that. Reaper going down so quickly.
Yeah, just immediately in position to see that sort of thing. Start firing right away. And you can see he's like right at the edge of fire when he dies.
Yeah, yeah.
Half second. He'd be free.
It really is perfect. Yeah, positioning and 2 Marines is the exact amount you need. Yeah, it looks very, very clean. And this is a more similar map last game than or the first game.
Yeah.
In terms of ramps and
Yeah.
kind of the
further
choke that you're
out.
gonna have to come out.
Yeah, the choke, it'll be interesting if that affects the tank positioning, like you were saying, that even though that's flat ground, it's not this wide open space, there is some constraint there. So
Yeah.
that can affect how things come, assuming you get a similar sort of push out at a similar time.
I feel like if the tanks line up on the like 3rd location line side, so, if Tier's going into T-Bone, if they cover more on the right side, I feel like you have infinite space. If you go left, you get really ugly with T-Bone's main base kind of overarching you, and then also
Overhang, yeah.
the hill being just really annoying to try to set things in specific locations kind of gets funky on hills or ramps or whatever you want to call them. Elevation. Alright, we'll see. Third tank on its way. So it's been between like the third and fourth tank-ish, right? That you're kind of triggers to go out.
And I think it's somewhat too. It's almost lined up that it's like the building of the third base that the move, like, because those have been synced up both times.
Yeah. The third's almost always taken as like
As
tiers
he's
on the.
passing it.
Yeah.
Like he drives by it.
Because it almost looks like a normal third base move out where you're just kind of re-sieging to get your third base. But here takes a little bit further. Does a contain while taking his third. Seems unnecessarily risky, but if T-Bone runs into tanks, it's a good play.
Yeah, which he has, which is another thing that's like unforced in the first place, is you don't have to do that. You just don't have to move out at all in the first place. So it really feels kind of like it's maybe the second Raven that's the trigger more than anything. The other tank is kind of like halfway made. It will going along with this soon here, but it's not coming right away.
And Ravens are, I mean, it's such a unique, like this early of Ravens, I feel like is just so interesting with this kind of contain. Because you really just always expect Vikings, maybe medevacs for the Marines, but like Vikings are such a integral part of like the, oh no, and it's coming up the left side.
Interesting. Yeah,
This
left
is the
side,
side I did not want.
and he sieged low.
Yeah. This is like
So this is not good.
very rough. Right side, like I said, I think you have like very similar to last game. This is like intentionally getting yourself in a much worse position. I don't think the Ravens even, well, I guess the Marines show the right side with the high ground, but the Ravens are not showing the high ground. Like they're too far away.
The one half potentially good thing about this is the way that the ramp and high ground is positioned. If the Marines decide to come,
They have to
they
do that
could be
Hellion
walking.
thing, kind of.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're walking through a weird, choke that will flatten them out and make it longer. They
Yeah,
just
you almost
can't-
have to go in a straight line around that corner.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's exactly what I was talking about with the
Okay, and this
on
is
the ramp, the Hellion.
the one tank up here too is another additional X factor. 4 low, 1 high.
And it might bait out the Marines from T-Bone, I feel like.
Yeah,
I feel like they
come
might
out,
jump
go
on this
for this
one.
thing, and then
Yeah.
just drop.
If they can take it out, then they lose the high ground for a second. Oh my god, it just barely lives and it's been out.
Yeah, these are in the range.
And they're not hitting the high ground tank.
Yeah, that was pretty decisive. Having the one there is like the magnet.
Yeah.
Now, no Marines to support here. This time the Marines were not jumping directly on that. I guess because they had already engaged in the pre-siege format.
Damn, a really close match in terms of something could kind of what is it? Tilt the scales very easily in a game like this, where that Viking is a little more active because T-Bone or Tyr really doesn't have good anti-air other than those Marines, but Marines can't really be running around willy-nilly. Like they're kind of patrolling a pretty specific area that they want to be at. So yeah, like a little more used to the Vikings and trying to mess with the high ground vision a little bit better. And then also, yeah, just the, like you said, there's no need to leave your base.
Yeah.
Technically, like in this kind of position, you do like, you're trying to hit a 2-base timing, but yeah, it's rough to just run into tanks like that.
Yeah.
You can maybe load up, try to do, some sort of drop or something sneaky, but yeah, just walking out into 6 tanks is never gonna be good.
Yeah, he's still definitely not broken or anything here yet. And here the Marines get baited for it. That's going to be a loss, and he's going to lose this tank too on the high ground. But potentially at the loss of his own Marines that has actually lived.
The low ground tanks
There, yeah.
so strong. But yeah, I mean, if Tier throws away enough into this, T-Bone has a chance. The only problem is the expansions behind this.
Yeah, Tier's got 2 other bases. His economy's going to keep pumping. Yeah, it's hard to see T-Bone breaking out of this and going on any sort of offense. And I don't even know if he's got the mindset of building a third. Because this was originally just supposed to be the 2-base push.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not down and out yet with like still tanks there pending. But
Doesn't look good. Yeah, legally, they're not dead. Yeah. But, yeah, definitely looking like it'll be a matter of time before Tier is able to take this and put themselves into the playoff single elimination bracket. T-Bone will not be down and out entirely, though. They will have another shot. And one of, what, do we have 2 game 3s today, or is this the first game 3?
I think this was the first game 3 we had, yeah.
Dang, so the only bot going into losers who took it to a game 3. So I've got a lot of faith.
Promising. Yeah, there's a lot of good things here. The 4s are now making the final punch in this.
Yeah, Tier plays the like end game very well. Not really giving you many chances and never being done with the build. You know, it's not like an all-in bot where it's like, I've done the thing I was supposed to do, now we wait, and I either win or lose. Like, no, I'll go into 200, 204, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 on everything, you know? I mean, look at the production. Yeah, it's just like every upgrade, get the Ghost Academy feat, get a factory, get a anything and everything.
Slow creep forward here, while unsieging, pushing up, or coming into the frame. Kinda can't walk forward yet, but he will. That's a good last offensive push. Come in, one last thing. Probably be on him by the time he does. Second floor joining in. Marines still scattered in the background.
Slow death, very one-sided death at this point. But like you said, especially TVTs are just so fickle, where whoever kind of moves into siege up tanks first typically loses. Typically that's not the right play. But yeah, it can be hard to assess exactly where you're supposed to go or how you're supposed to fight against certain builds. Here's contain macro kind of working out, almost like a Ben bot-esque.
Yeah.
Without the bunker. A little bit later of a contain, but kind of similar style.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it is very deliberately, like he knows the exact timing of T-Bone is just like at this time you're gonna walk.
Yeah, especially knowing it's marine heavy. Like if you know it's a 6 base or 6 racks marine push or whatever, like yeah, 3 tanks, even if they'd all died there, getting those shots is probably pretty worth it. Like clear out half the marines.
Yep. Yeah, you're definitely looking at pretty strong, but there was really an opportunity, like obviously for the first game, where T-Bone could take it depending on map shape like that. Just happened to take the initiative that time. And here, working.
Yeah, good stuff here. Let's see if this kind of I feel like the style is really strong in this era of ProBots, where, like we said, a lot of cheesy games and a lot of kind of surviving that first couple minutes. So, trying to like poke in with the Reaper, but not really committing to that, and then trying to kind of contain, but again, not really committing to it, and being able to always go into a longer game and go into the next transition. I feel like is gonna. It's a good sign.
Yeah,
For the
definitely.
next matches.
Absolutely. It's been that was close. I thought T-Bone could have taken the upset. Well, I guess would have been an upset. I think so. Maybe it would have been an upset.
Probably just
felt T-Bone
based on
better.
seniority and stuff.
Yeah,
but
seniority.
both of them are still quite capable.
Well, and it's like the Sharkbot, where one bot mentions the other bot in their updates. The other bot's the underdog in my head. You know, like if someone did the research and someone else didn't, like they're immediately, I expect them to do worse. You know, and so yeah, I think T-Bone's slightly underdog, but during the match I didn't think underdog. During the match I thought trying to contain someone who's about to attack can go so wrong. Of like, you know, like they have defender's advantage and they already have units that they're trying to make.
Yeah.
Don't get me excited, Undersword.
I might. Just saying, we should play that at the end of every show.
I don't know what it is, and
You do know what it is.
Is that from the documentary you guys were
that's
talking about
right.
earlier?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's from the Smash Dog.
Absolutely. Well, quite a long night. It's been quite the many games. So definitely apologize to everybody but you guys stuck with us. You're true heroes, true ProBot heroes. You stuck through the long games and you held on down there. But that brings us down to the lower bracket next week. We'll be going to pretty much see who's done, who's out.
Yeah.
Finished. I guess we can production, whatever bracket you can show us. Let us see what you got, and we'll make up the rest that we have. All right, so
Our first half of the day, fellers.
okay, so this is Zozo versus Ketrock. Will be down there, and then T-Bone versus Dominion Dog.
I think that'll be a really good one. T-Bone versus Dominion Dog. Again, we're going to have TBT. Both of them quite capable. Dominion Dog taking out Benbot to survive. Yeah, I think that'll be a pretty good one. They have fought again, and they were at 2-1 in the initial match, so it could go either way. And there's been updates.
Yeah, there most certainly have been updates. So I expect that one to be a fierce. Wait a minute, but we're seeing them. I just remembered we saw them before. T-Bone did fight Dominion.
Yeah,
Dog
in week.
yes.
Round.
So you're right, the updates. So that will make a huge difference, I hope. And we'll see what Dominion Dog has at his store. I wonder who he is prepared for. I wonder if he thought he was going to go against T-Bone. Like maybe he, since he already knew he had T-Bone in the past, he would just reuse that, and then prepare for tier. So I think Dominion Dog is actually in the better space than T-Bone personally, but we'll see on that side. And then on the other side, we would have had Deimos going up against Sharkbot and 12 ProBot against MicroMachine. So we don't have brackets for that, but
yeah, I think Deimos Sharkbot will be pretty interesting too, for sure.
Absolutely, so scrappy. And then we'll see what 12 ProBot and MicroMachine will rock. I don't know if we have updates for 12 ProBot. Something tells me that 12 ProBot hasn't been updated, but stranger things have happened. MicroMachine has definitely not been updated. So
I was say 3 of those 4 matches did happen earlier in the pool as well.
Yeah.
So MicroMachine 12 ProBot did play earlier. MicroMachine 1-2-0, and then the Ketrock and Zozo also played round 1 of their pool, and Zozo did have the 2-0 win over Ketrock. Yeah. But Zozo looked a little bit not like Zozo today, so we'll see. I feel like Zozo has a lot of variance in in their builds, so it could go a lot of ways. And 12 pool and or not 12 pool, Deimos and Sharkbot should be completely new. We haven't seen them fight, at all. So we got some where we have like a little expectations, and so we gotta need them to update their bot or do a little bit better if they expect to win. And then we've got the Sharkbot Deimos is who knows what's gonna go down.
We'll see. Absolutely, and we'll see how because next week people are getting eliminated. Some people are gone, scrap pile, no more. So I've been saying it for years that I would have an animation to do it, but that is not this year. But soon, one day, maybe for the holidays, Santa Claus will give me an animation for bots being destroyed in it's like the Terminator T-800 going down into the lava as he sinks has always been my dream, as maybe a GIF that runs at the end of it. for each bot that gets destroyed. But that's not that. Okay, though. But those of you who are still in the audience and you made it to the end, you know what you need to do. You need to hit that subscribe. At this point, you probably subscribe. Like if you've made it to this point, you're most likely subscribed. I
Hit that
mean,
bell.
I'd be shocked if you weren't subscribed at this point. But yeah, hit the bell button, and then check out AIarena.net. That's where all these bots are. You go over there and check out them playing in real time, and then of course, obviously, if you want to join me on Mondays in the assembly, the mob programming assembly, !join. Join me on Mondays. We go together. And it's not just me and Dog Tato, and then other people come in and drop in, and we code a bot together. So !join. You get access to that. And yeah, absolutely. Anything, gentlemen, before we leave, you want to leave these hungry people with?
Watch next week, and it will sate your hunger
Mm,
that we've just assigned to you.
yeah. Yeah. Stay hungry, my friends.
Stay hungry, my friends. Stay hungry. And remember that. Stay hungry. You heard it from Banyoshi here first. And stay hungry. Okay, cool. All right. Anyways, either which ways, guys, it's been great games. And then we'll see you all. I've been joined here, Endersword, Banyoshi, and I've been Drekken, and we've done you this week of Day 4 ProBots. Happy coding. Bye.
Bye.